What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
1VN. Chapter 1 Vice Admiral Promotion Assessment. Advertise here. Winner. Aizen Sōsuke. Marine Headquarters, on the martial arts field at the back of Marineford. As the referee, the Vice Admiral Flying Squirrel announced loudly the winner of this competition. Above the surrounding stands Marshal Sengoku, Chief of Staff Tsuru, Admiral Akainu and Kizaru were all present. Looking at the elegant figure in the middle of the ring, they couldn't help but nodded secretly. After defeating a competitor fairly, he gently lifts up the opponent and gives comfort. Not only showed great strength, but also impressed the opponent who was Marine's colleague. Such size, such style. Should it be said that he is the favorite student of Marshal Sengoku? Sengoku, you're not a bad student. Chief of Staff Tsuru looked at Aizen in the field with admiration in his eyes. Ordinary sailors may not be able to see anything in the battle just now, but they, the high-level Marines, can see it clearly. This battle is no challenge for Aizen. After a fight, not only was his clothes intact, but his breathing was not disturbed at all. His strength has surpassed the level of Rear Admiral, and he is not inferior to the Vice Admirals present. Kawai, are young people so strong now? It seems that the old man will retire in a few years. Kizaru pinched his chin and spoke casually. Akainu, who was sitting next to him, glanced at him, took a puff on his cigar, and let out a cold snort while exhaling. If you want to be qualified for the Vice Admiral, it is not enough to look at it now, let's start the final part. Let him show more strength and prove that he is qualified enough to serve. The flying squirrels on the field heard Sakazuki's words and turned their eyes to Sengoku. After getting a nod, he looked at Aizen on the side again. Is there any problem? Aizen lowered his head slightly and pushed his glasses, with a gentle smile on his face. Of course, please continue. After receiving a clear reply, the flying squirrel put one hand on the hilt of the sword at his waist, and shouted. This time, the Vice Admiral's promotion assessment is the last round, and the Rear Admiral Aizen Sōsuke from the headquarters will challenge the Vice Admiral from the headquarters. Quote. Just when the flying squirrel was about to say his name, a tall figure in the stand stood up and said first, wait a minute. He had a cigarette in his mouth, and he was wearing a helmet engraved with a two-headed dragon pattern, with a fierce look on his face. Ghost Spider. Whether it was Sengoku and the others above, or the flying squirrel on the ring, they all stopped and looked at him. Facing the gaze cast by Marshal Sengoku, Ghost Spider took a puff of smoke and said slowly, Marshal, I am very interested in the ability of Aizen Rear Admiral, let me do this assessment. Sengoku didn't answer after hearing this, but just took a deep look at him, and glanced at Akainu next to him from the corner of his eye. After a while, looking at the flying squirrel and Aizen in the arena, he said in a deep voice, in that case, then you will be the examiner for the last round. With Sengoku's consent, the Ghost Spider squeezed out a cruel smile on its ferocious face, and at the same time displayed its aura. A head of loose hair swayed without wind, and the strands of hair were twisted together to form 6 strands, like arms, and the 8 sabers that he carried were also unsheathed one by one. Each hand holds one handle, and the other 6 handles are controlled by hair. From a distance, it looks like it has 8 hands, each holding a long knife. Here it is, the Ghost Spider Vice Admiral's life is back. A Marine colonel on the other side of the stand exclaimed. Return of life, a special secret technique that can freely control any part of the body, such as the body, hair, internal organs, etc. It is a skill far more difficult than Marine 6 styles, and it has extremely high requirements for users. Even most of the generals and officers in the headquarters have never mastered it. And that's what Vice Admiral Spooky Spider does. He controls his hair like his arms and fingers, and uses hair instead of hands to practice the rare 8-sword swordsmanship. Boom. As the Ghost Spider jumped off the stands, a large cloud of dust was stirred up. Exuding endless fighting spirit all over his body, he approached Aizen step by step. When passing by the flying squirrel, he did not forget to say, I'm sorry flying squirrel, I'll treat you to a drink later. The flying squirrel, who was inexplicably robbed of his identity as an examiner, was not angry. He withdrew his hand on the hilt of his sword, and waved it indifferently, we'll talk about the drinking later. You should be careful. It is also the veteran Vice Admiral of the headquarters, and the flying squirrel and the Ghost Spider still have a few affections. The casual sentence is also a secret warning, hoping that he will not cause some unpleasant things. The Ghost Spider naturally heard his intentions, and exhaled a puff of smoke. Thank you. Then walk over the flying squirrel and go straight to Aizen. Aizen saw the ferocious Ghost Spider getting closer and closer, and greeted him with a smile. Long time no see, Ghost Spider Vice Admiral. After the flying squirrel retreated, the Ghost Spider relied on its burly figure to look down at Aizen with a haughty expression. Ah. I'm sorry, Rear Admiral, your opponent has been replaced by me. I won't show mercy. Me too. Aizen smiled even more, the gentleness on his face was in stark contrast to the ferocity of the Ghost Spider. Chapter 2 Fight the Ghost Spider. Aizen Rear Admiral loves soldiers like sons. The two people on the arena looked at each other from a distance, their aura remained calm. The atmosphere also became solemn, and a dull fighting spirit began to pervade, and the Marines around couldn't help but concentrate for fear of missing the details. This is a rare opportunity to gain insight. The battle at the Vice Admiral level can already be regarded as one of the top battles in this sea. This kind of scene is not just for sailors who have combat experience at sea, not to mention there are many recruits who are still training in the training camp. They stared at the field intently. But the two people on the field remained motionless until the cigarette in the ghost spider's mouth burned more than half, and a piece of ash fell. Shave. With a soft sound, the ghost spider took the lead in attacking, and the figure staying in place suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Aizen, and 8 long knives stabbed at him at the same time, blocking all retreat routes under attacks from different angles. Rear Admiral, let me see your strength. Facing such a tricky attack, Aizen, who had already been locked, did not move at all, allowing the ghost spider to penetrate it. The soldiers in the stands couldn't help but exclaimed. No. No way, it's just a meeting. Aizen Rear Admiral lost. Hurry up, save people. Compared with their panicked performance, the high-level generals were much calmer. Marshal Sengoku shouted, be quiet, the battle has just begun. The powerful momentum suppressed the commotion in an instant. The soldiers looked at the presence of the officers and old gods. Although they were puzzled in their hearts, they obeyed the order and calmed down. Kizaru glanced at the ghost spider on the field, and then turned his gaze to an open space in the corner of the ring. As this the phantom fruit ability. Create phantoms instead of the main body, disrupting the opponent's sight. It's amazing to use the powerful observation Hawkeye to avoid the ghost spider's detection. So, what is he going to do next? As soon as the voice fell, the Aizen on the field was illusory and gradually disappeared. When the ghost spider who noticed the strangeness was startled. Although he didn't think he could defeat it easily, after all, he was Marshal Sengoku's beloved disciple, but he was able to use his ability to deceive him without him noticing. It's amazing. Just as he was looking for his opponent, Aizen reappeared to his left. Without waiting for him to move, in front of him, to the right, behind the left, behind the right. In all directions, more than a dozen, Aizen surrounded him. Ghost Spider Vice Admiral. Ghost Spider Vice Admiral. ... Ghost Spider Vice Admiral, watch out. Voices came from all directions and overlapped. When the Ghost Spider observation Hawkeye is fully opened, a pair of eyes scans back and forth, trying to find Aizen's real body. But the Aizen in front of him would not give him this chance. They all drew out their waist sabers and attacked the Ghost Spider. Seeing Aizen's attack approaching, the Ghost Spider didn't have time to distinguish it. If that's the case, then just beat you all. The 8 long knives danced at extreme speed, and the dense flying slashes were output from all directions without dead ends. After several slashes smashed through the illusion, they continued to fly towards the stands, and they were about to hurt the sailors there. But seeing a huge slash soaring into the sky, breaking up those fragmentary attacks. Ghost Spider Vice Admiral, it's just an assessment, it's not good to hurt the soldiers in the headquarters. Aizen's figure suddenly appeared on the open space where Kizaru was watching. A cold light flickered under the thick glasses frame, and his tone was cold. He couldn't pretend he didn't see such a thing as involving a lowly fighter in a battle between the two of them. Aizen's tone was cold, but it made the soldiers he protected feel warm. Pairs of eyes looking at his back were full of longing. Aizen Rear Admiral, what a good general who loves his soldiers like a son. ... It's just an assessment. The Ghost Spider leaned over and rushed towards Aizen, and there was a real crack in the air behind him. Boom, boom, boom. Casting moonwalk in midair 3 times in a row, while changing the attack direction, it also accelerated 3 times in a row. In the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of Aizen, and the 8 longswords were smudged black under the blessing of his Hawkeye, and the blue slashes were concentrated on it. The moment it was swung, the Ghost Spider roared in a deep voice, and shouted out the half-sentence in its mouth. Fighting is to fight with your life, put away your womanly benevolence. Before the words were finished, 8 huge slashes came attacking the ground. Different from the previous scattered slashes, this time he, as Vice Admiral, charged his energy and sent it out, and his power was almost visible to the naked eye. The arena was already overwhelmed by this powerful destructive force, it was broken into pieces of gravel, and the pressure enveloped the audience. This time everyone really felt the strength of Vice Admiral. Everyone in the stands, Vice Admiral, no longer stood idly by, and shot out one after another, blocking the escaping power around the edge of the stands. Marshal, don't let them stop. Facing Kizaru's question, Sengoku didn't change his face, his eyes were fixed on both sides of the battle. He just said lightly, continue. Chapter 3 Weakness. This strength is difficult to control. Advertise here. With the permission of the Marshal, there are also a group of Vice Admirals. The Ghost Spider has no scruples in its shots, its attacks become more and more fierce, and its aura reaches its peak. This puts a lot of pressure on Aizen as the opponent. It's really violent. Aizen sighed, helplessness flashed across his face. Afterwards, his expression straightened, and he didn't dodge anymore, as he rarely dodged, and went up to the incoming slash. A linear slash came out of his hand and went straight to the Ghost Spider. Feeling the power of this blow, Ghost Spider was not surprised but delighted. Have you finally shown your true skills? In an instant, the muscles all over his body tensed up, and the 8-handled long saber stand cut out in front of his chest. Seeing that the attacks of the two were about to touch each other, everyone held their breath and stared closely. Just when they thought that the aftermath of their all-out attack was coming, Aizen's powerful slash was crushed by the Ghost Spider's attack. The Ghost Spider's attack flew straight out without any hindrance. What? The Ghost Spider felt bad when he saw this, but before he could move, a strong pain came from the shoulder behind him. A slash from unknown origin hit him fiercely, the wound spread from his shoulder to his lower back, and the cloak of justice was instantly stained with blood. Vice Admiral, don't be fooled by the illusion in front of you. Another Aizen appeared in his line of sight and began to walk slowly around him, with each step a brand new Aizen was left in place. Gradually, not only Aizen, Kizaru, Akainu, Aokiji, and even Sengoku, Garp, appeared one by one and surrounded it. Facing the siege of so many familiar faces, Ghost Spider couldn't help but feel nervous even though he knew it was fake. Not to mention that in his sight, each of these people condensed their own signature moves. Lava, flash, ice spikes. It's just some fakes, do you think you can scare me like this? The Ghost Spider growled and was about to strike first. Sengoku's voice came from the stands. Stop it, it's done. Marshal. The Ghost Spider looked at Sengoku unwillingly. The two looked at each other for a long time, except for the initial unwillingness. After calming down, he saw the warning in Sengoku's eyes. Tell him enough is enough. Today, his Ghost Spider asked for a temporary battle. As the Marshal, Sengoku has given enough face to agree, so don't be ignorant of good and bad. In the end, the Ghost Spider still took pictures of Sengoku's condescending gaze, and turned his head away from the fighting stance. Withdrawing his knife, he left without looking back. Seeing this, Sengoku nodded in satisfaction, and looked at Aizen on the other side. The assessment is over, remove these illusions of yours. Yes, Marshal. Aizen sheathed the knife and said with a light smile. This time the Vice Admiral promotion assessment has also come to an end. Its significance is to select outstanding officers and soldiers who are qualified for the position of Vice Admiral in the headquarters, and this excellence is not only to have sufficient achievements, but also to have corresponding combat power and outstanding abilities. Apparently Aizen has proven himself. Aizen Sōsuke, Headquarters Rear Admiral, Marshal Sengoku's favorite student. After defeating other competitors who were also Rear Admiral, he fought against the veteran Vice Admiral Ghost Spider for a long time without losing the wind, and even suppressed and slashed it with a great advantage. On weekdays, he is mostly welcomed by the soldiers of the headquarters, and the relationship between his colleagues is harmonious. It shows that its strength is strong and its ability is outstanding. Perfectly qualified for the role of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. The above is the content recorded by the members of the Organization of the World Government, and the signatures of several Marine executives are attached to make it recognized. After the previous battle ended, Sengoku announced in front of everyone that Aizen had passed the assessment, and went through a series of scenes. After finishing all this, he took his student back to the office. As for the promotion result of Vice Admiral this time, people from the world government will send it up, and your letter of appointment will come down soon. During this period, you should take a good rest first, and there will be tasks assigned to you after you officially take office. In the Marshal's office, Sengoku looked at Aizen in front of him and said seriously. I see. Aizen answered with a smile, and then the office fell silent. Sengoku waited for a long time without seeing him speak, and glanced at Crane who was holding a teacup and said nothing. You are so serious in front of the teacher. There are no outsiders here, so there is no need to be so formal. Aizen. The teacher said so. Knowing his disciple's temperament, Sengoku no longer forced himself, and waved his hands discouragedly. Okay, I won't tell you the polite words. I'm very happy that you can be promoted to Vice Admiral this time. Sengoku first praised, then changed the topic sharply, and his expression became serious. Although you took some advantage in the battle with the Ghost Spider, you also exposed a great disadvantage. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a weakness. You rely too much on the ability of the Phantom Fruit. It is not a good thing for this assessment or the future battle. After a brief reminder, Sengoku didn't say any more. He believes that with Aizen's heart, he can fully understand what he means. After a while, Aizen said goodbye and walked out of the Marshal's office. At the moment of closing the door, Aizen's eyes flashed a sharp edge. Understand. Of course he understood. In this assessment, Aizen failed to show a strong frontal combat power, and kept using phantom abilities to make tricks, and the whole battle was anticlimactic. This will make him, who is about to be promoted to Vice Admiral, criticized and questioned his combat effectiveness. In future battles, his phantom has little effect on the well-informed and powerful, and it is easy to be restrained. Only, an unreadable whisper drifted past, but no one heard it. Sensei Sengoku, you know. It's hard to control the force of stepping on an ant without harming your life. Chapter 4 Popular Aizen. Advertise here. Meanwhile, in Admiral Akainu's office. Including Akainu, Doberman, Dalmesia, and the Ghost Spider who was wounded in the battle, all gathered here. Sakazuki, until now I still don't understand why you want to target Aizen. Dalmesia folded his hands and looked at Akainu. Several people have similar ideas in the senior management of Marine, and they all have zero tolerance for pirates, so-called hawks. It is natural to be careful in front of outsiders, and there are no outsiders right now, so they just call them by their first names. Don't play tricks if you have any questions, just ask directly. After Dalmisia finished speaking, the others looked at Akainu, waiting for his answer. Akainu took a deep puff of the cigar, exhaled a puff of smoke and said solemnly, I think there is something wrong with Aizen, and I want to test him. Something wrong. Probing. After hearing this, several people couldn't help but look at each other in blank dismay. Is there any evidence? No. Seeing that Akainu has no evidence, just relying on one-sided intuition. They didn't delve into it anymore, but Doberman mentioned, Aizen is the marshal's student after all, no more than those pirates who can be killed if they want. If there is no evidence to take action, neither the marshal nor the world government will let it go. Quote. Dalmisia. It's really strange to say that those ugly celestial dragons have always compared themselves to gods, so it's too strange to treat him so politely to Aizen. There is no lack of disdain for the celestial dragons in his words. It would be outrageous to make such remarks outside. But everyone present was calm and disapproving. At their level, they already understand all the filth and darkness that should be understood. However, due to the issue of position, I was a little more cautious outside. There are no outsiders here, so it is natural to speak freely. After all, they are the hawks in other people's mouths, practicing justice in their own minds. They are not dogs. And unlike some generals in the headquarters, Ishin only wants to flatter the stinky feet of the nobles. Hearing what they said, Akainu didn't speak, but looked at the ghost spider. Sorry. Ghost spider supported the tea table with one hand, and waved his hand. Stop saying these things, everything is for justice. If there's something wrong with Aizen, it's my fault. Akainu didn't say any more after hearing that. The topic after that also naturally bypassed Aizen. As time went on into the evening, Aizen walked the streets of the living quarters. After several hours of fermenting, his performance in the Vice Admiral promotion assessment also spread throughout the headquarters, even the girls in the logistics department knew about it. Along the way, I don't know how many people's attention I received and how many military salutes I received. There were even a few girls from the staff who were too shy to come alone, so they approached him together and wanted to ask for an autographed photo. Aizen Vice Admiral, you are really amazing. Even veteran powerhouses like Ghost Spider Vice Admiral have been defeated by you, you are too strong. Hehe. The appointment of Vice Admiral has not yet been made, and it is Rear Admiral now. Aizen smiled kindly, with a gentle tone. The Ghost Spider, Vice Admiral, was merciful. It was a coincidence. I deserve it. I deserve it. Unexpectedly, this smile actually fascinated several girls in the staff department. All of them had jealous eyes, wishing they could drag Aizen or he would leave. Actually, I can't blame these girls. Who is Aizen not only has a strong background and outstanding strength, but also has a handsome appearance and is gentle and kind to his subordinates. If you ask the lower-level marine fighters in this department who they want to join the most, 95 out of 100 people will answer Aizen Rear Admiral. And he himself has been ranked 6th in the monthly, Marine's most popular person, for many years. The top 5 are Sengoku, Garp and Admiral. What ingredients can be imagined? Finally got rid of the entanglement and returned to his residence. Back in the room, Aizen took off his glasses and put them on the table beside him. The gentle smile disappeared from his face visibly. It was replaced by a disregard of absolute rationality. He walked to the window step by step, looking at the boundless sea. Under the blowing of the sea breeze, the pure white curtains fluttered slightly. In the shadows behind him, a figure suddenly appeared. I saw him with a long knife at his waist, and his figure gradually approached. When the figure was less than 3 meters behind him, Aizen spoke. Your shunpo has improved a lot, Yuta. With this sound, the figure became clear, revealing its appearance. A slender girl with headphones came out. She has half red and half pink hair with 2 braids tied into bunny ears. Congratulations. Aizen Vice Admiral. But you are so deceptive, is it really okay? When those people find out that the Aizen Vice Admiral they admire does not exist at all, they will be disillusioned. The corners of Aizen's mouth raised slightly after hearing this, revealing a different smile than usual. I didn't mean to lie, it's just that none of them knew my true face. That's all. Chapter 5 What matters is the face of the world government. Advertise here. Yuta walked to Aizen, and took out a stack of the latest reports within Marine from his arms. Aizen looked at it silently after taking it, until a reward order with a familiar face appeared in front of him. With a chuckle, he took out the wanted warrant and placed it in front of the girl. Yuta, it seems that your friend has done something great. Luffy in the straw hat on the wanted poster showed a cheerful smile and looked very happy. Yuta has read these documents a long time ago, and naturally knows what Luffy, a childhood playmate, did. It's just that she doesn't remember saying these things to Aizen. Another damn prophet. Master Aizen, is it your ability to predict again? Is it a special observation hockey? Or? This was the number of times Yuta had asked him. But every time Aizen smiled back, unwilling to talk about it. Even if you have already decided to follow him to complete that great cause, you still trust him very much. I'm still curious about this kind of thing. Of course Aizen would not tell her the real answer, just like he would not tell her that he is a time traveler. She will not tell her that she is a time traveler with a physical body who inherited the ability of Captain Aizen in the Shinigami world, and Zanpakuto, Kyoka Suigetsu. A lonely traveler who gave up his real name and stood before the world as Aizen in order to forget the past. Okay, I see. Seeing the familiar smile on Aizen's face, Yuta knew that he would not tell himself the answer. Seeing her give up, the smile on Aizen's face became more gentle. Thank you, Yuta. You are so understanding. The smile is kind and the voice is gentle. If he didn't know the true face of Aizen, Yuta felt that he might have believed it. So you're going to shoot Luffy. After finishing the meaningless inquiry, she brought the topic to Luffy, and she could vaguely feel Aizen's attention to Luffy. As childhood friends, even if the other party has become an evil pirate. But since he hadn't done any evil since his debut, she was willing to let him go and give him a chance to reform. Looking back now, didn't she also dreamed of becoming a singer of red hair pirates, traveling around the world to create more songs and bring happiness to the world? And promised to create a new era with Luffy at that time. Just now, think of the red hair pirates, think of her adoptive father Shanks. Yuta's eyes are determined and firm. Now, I'm part of it. Just wait and see, Shanks. Looking into her eyes, Aizen knew what she was thinking. While remaining calm, a little interest also arose. Daughter of one of the New World Sea Emperors, she serves as a captain in Marine. When the father and daughter meet in the future, what kind of expression will the most hockey man in the sea have on his face? Interesting. The Marshal's office at Naval Headquarters the following day. In addition to Garp who is on vacation, Admiral Aokiji who has not yet returned to the mission, and others who have missions. The high-end combat power of Naval Headquarters is basically complete. With everyone watching, Marshal Sengoku handed Aizen the letter of appointment signed by the five elders himself. Thank you Marshal for your trust, and thank you colleagues for your recognition. Aizen still had a gentle smile, bowed slightly and took the letter of appointment with both hands, showing humility and courtesy. A vice admiral appointment ceremony was also successfully completed under the congratulations of colleagues. After the end, the people in the office dispersed one after another, leaving only a few people. Sengoku stopped Aizen who was about to leave. Do you know the latest news from the headquarters? Is it about the sand crocodile, one of the Shichibukai, being defeated by the newcomer pirate from East Blue? Aizen said frankly. You are still so sharp. Sengoku said with emotion. Then he took out a pack of senbei from the drawer, and pushed the teapot on the table in front of Aizen. Seeing this, Aizen smiled slightly, picked up the teapot and got up to get the tea. Teacher, use it slowly. Seemingly enjoying the filial piety of his lover, Sengoku's serious expression also relaxed. The facts are probably exactly as you said, but there are some differences in the details. Appreciate further details. Sengoku was silent for a moment, moistened his throat, and then said quietly, some time ago, the sand crocodile tried to steal the Alliance country Alabasta in order to achieve its evil ambition. After being spotted by Colonel Smoker of the East Blue Rog Town garrison, he was successfully arrested and rescued Alabasta in distress. Quote. While saying this, Sengoku stared at the tea, but the corner of his eye was always on Aizen's face. His expression didn't change at all. This kid is still so calm. Sengoku sighed, half relieved, half annoyed. Sometimes it's a problem if a disciple's Xingxing is too good, and it's impossible to test his thoughts. Seeing that the temptation is not enough, I can only ask directly. He took the teapot in his hand, and while filling the teacups in front of the two of them, he asked, what do you think about this? Aizen sat across from Sengoku, holding the teacup in front of him. The clear tea soup exuded bursts of heat, and a layer of mist formed on the glasses on the bridge of his nose, blocking his eyes. Teacher, in fact, Crocodile's ambition, Alabasta's crisis, and who deserves the credit are all unimportant. What matters is the face of the world government. Chapter 6 Be safe. Offal of the sea. Advertise here. What matters is the face of the world government. Unexpected, but also within reason. These words are not in line with Aizen's gentle personality, but it is not surprising that he has such an awareness because of his inner nature. Sengoku nodded and did not continue the conversation, the two of them tacitly stopped the topic here. The crocodile incident left Shichibukai vacant, and the world government will launch a Shichibukai meeting in a few days to invite several other Shichibukai to discuss candidates for the replacement. When the time comes, you will be with me in the crane. You've been stationed at the branch on the first half of the Grand Line, and it's time to meet these notorious villains of the sea. Quote. Sengoku made no secret of his distaste for Shichibukai. I see. Aizen accepted the task calmly. After communicating these, the master and apprentice exchanged pleasantries for a while. After Aizen left the marshal's office, the crane on the sofa said, you are excellent in every aspect, as good as you were when you were young. It's just that he seems to be getting too close to the celestial dragons recently. I remind you to pay more attention. It will prevent the students who have worked so hard to be abducted by them. Faced with his friend's persuasion, Sengoku's eyes were firm. Don't worry, it won't happen. Aizen has his own justice. Seeing him like this, Suru didn't say any more. Soon, the day of the Shichibukai meeting will come. The port of the Holy Land Mariajoy, the marine stationed here divides the school on both sides. After the warship docked, Bartholomew Akuma, the tyrant, among the Shichibukai, and Don Quixote Doflamingo, the heavenly yaksha, appeared successively. He was obviously a pirate, but he walked over majestically under the eyes of all the Marines. What is the purpose of inviting us here this time? Fur. Doflamingo sat obliquely on the railing of the balcony, while talking boringly, while stretching out his right knuckles. Almost at the same time, a Marine colonel at the round table suddenly got up and attacked his colleagues beside him. A pair of hands tightly strangled each other's neck. Hey, what are you doing? Let go of your hands, I'm going to be out of breath. No, I don't know, I can't control my body. The sudden change surprised the two of them, and the one facing the balcony noticed Doflamingo's malicious appearance. Hey, did you do it, Doflamingo? Stop it. Hearing this scolding, Brother Ming got even worse. Under his control, the two each drew their swords, and when the battle was about to escalate, there was a crisp sound of swords being drawn. The extremely thin silk thread on the two of them, which was difficult to observe with the naked eye, snapped. Mr. Doflamingo, this is the Holy Land Mariajoy, please restrain yourself. The sun streamed through the window, creating a streak of light on Aizen's glasses. He gently pushed the knife back into the scabbard. His tone was gentle and mingled with awe-inspiring chill. Brother Ming, whose interest was interrupted, spread out his hands unhappily. Ah. Is this officer dissatisfied with me? I'm your guest. While speaking, Brother Ming's aura gradually showed, pressing towards Aizen on the other side of the round table. In the face of such pressure, Aizen looked calm, as if he was not affected. This calmness made Shang, who was reading the Bible, from the beginning to the end, couldn't help but pay attention to it. Since you know that you are a guest, please maintain proper etiquette on the host's site. Bad guests will be kicked out. Home. Guest. Get kicked out. Aizen's emphasis made Brother Ming, who was once a celestial dragon's, feel angry, and the veins on his forehead burst out instantly. In the strange laughter of Furofurafor, there was a killing intent. Aizen remained unmoved, and after calmly pushing his glasses, his aura suddenly rose. They formed horns with Brother Ming, filling the empty conference hall. With a click, cracks began to appear on the huge round table between the two, followed by the floor and the wall. As the momentum of the two collided, the entire conference room trembled. In addition to the cranes that are still as stable as Mount High, there are also bears. The Marine officers and world government officials who participated in the scene were all shocked. He stared nervously at the two to prevent them from really fighting. Enough, what does it look like to be noisy? Sengoku walked slowly into the conference hall, and reprimanded the two for their rudeness. As the Marine Marshal, the first thing to do when you arrive at the Holy Land Mariajoy is of course to meet the five elders first. I didn't expect that it was just a routine greeting, and an accident would happen in such a short period of time. Look at the violent look on Brother Ming's face. Can't you bastards of the sea give me a little peace? Chapter 7 Hawkeye's Invitation. Advertise here. See awful. Are you complimenting me? Fur. Brother Ming is crazy and perverted by nature, but it doesn't mean he is stupid. After countless extraordinary actions, he has always maintained a good speed. After Sengoku's appearance, although the words were still presumptuous, the momentum that escaped also dissipated. Humph. Sengoku snorted coldly and ignored him. After walking to the round table, he sat down and said, let's start the meeting. In my opinion, no one will come if we wait any longer. 2 of the 6 Shichibukai came, and the attendance rate has exceeded my expectations. The relationship between Shichibukai and the world government is only a cooperative relationship, and it is up to one's own choice whether to come or not to participate in such a meeting. After all, pirates are all willful, and it is not surprising to have any behavior. Even before the meeting began, Sengoku prepared for no one to attend. It's been going really well recently, I came back because I was too bored. Brother Ming sat down on the table and said to Sengoku. Sengoku looked indifferent. Really? That's really nerve-wracking. The smoother you pirates are, the busier our marine will be. You sound very envious. Looking at the presumptuous Doflamingo, Aizen's face remained the same. It was just that he suddenly felt a fierce breath coming from behind him. Looks like that man is here. I've been listening to nonsense for a long time. I thought I went to the wrong place. Footsteps sounded from far to near, and a slender and tall figure appeared in the corridor. He was wearing a wine-red inner shirt and a black windbreaker, with a large sword on his back, which looked like a cross from a distance. Under the black top hat, a pair of eagle-like sharp yellow eyes scanned the crowd unscrupulously. The world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye Mahawk. No way, the most unlikely person has appeared. Brother Ming looked at the approaching Hawkeye, and said in a strange voice. Not only him, but even Sengoku is weird. To know the previous Shichibukai meeting, Hawkeye has never been there. Sengoku. You're here too. It's nothing, I'm just here to join in the excitement, because I'm a little interested in the pirates to be discussed this time. That's all. Although Marine announced that Smoker had captured Crocodile, it was just a civilian method. As the top group of people in the sea, the truth of the matter cannot escape their eyes. Since the brief meeting with East Blue, Hawkeye has been keeping an eye on the Straw Hat crew. Not only because of the Zoro he admired, but also because he recognized the straw hat on Luffy's head as the one with red hair. This time Luffy's gang defeated Crocodile, which made him even more interested in the gang. Hawkeye walked along the way and gave his own answer. Just when passing by Aizen, he let out a light snort. A pair of sharp eyes fixed on Aizen. Is there any question for Mr. Mihawk? Sensing his gaze, Aizen asked with a faint smile. Out of the almost instinctive sharpness of a swordsman, Hawkeye seemed to have sensed something, and extended an invitation to Vice Admiral Aizen, who was just promoted. You are very good, let's discuss it afterwards. Hawkeye's words echoed in the conference hall, and everyone else fell silent for a while, looking at them in disbelief. You must know that he is Hawkeye, recognized as the world's #1 swordsman, and one of the top powerhouses in Shichibukai. Has the strength to rival Admiral. Such a person would actually send an invitation to a Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters. Does this Vice Admiral also have such strength? Hawkeye's locked on Aizen, waiting for his answer. The bear on the side looked at him again. Brother Ming looked like he had nothing to do with himself, and let out a malicious laugh. Just when the atmosphere was extremely dignified, a presumptuous voice appeared outside the conference room, breaking the deadlocked atmosphere. I'm really sorry for disturbing the elegant mood of the big shots. However, I wonder if I will be honored to participate in this audition. Everyone looked around, only to see a magician-like man sitting on the windowsill with a cane and a top hat on his head. He held on to the brim of his hat with one hand, and kept spinning his cane with the other. Who are you and where did you come from? Asked a Marine Rear Admiral who accompanied the participants. This is Marineford, the center of all efforts of the world government. It would not be a joke if a person of unknown origin bypassed layers of guards and sneaked in here. It doesn't matter who I am, let's get down to business. So many great people came together to discuss the successor of Crocodile who was stripped of the title of Shichibukai. I came here to recommend a hero from the sea to become a Shichibukai. Chapter 8. Lafitte targeted by Aizen. Advertise here. Lafitte. Aizen looked at the figure on the windowsill and said calmly. Then, under the watchful eyes of Sengoku and others, the identity of the future came out. The former security officer of West Blue was expelled by the country due to excessive law enforcement violence. It's an honor that someone has heard of me. Lafitte twirled his cane and brought the topic back. But please let me finish my sentence, Mr. Vice Admiral. The one I want to recommend to you is our captain, Blackbeard Teach. Teach. I've never heard of it. For a pirate he had never heard of, Sengoku instinctively had little interest. But the name used by the other party surprised him greatly. When Whitebeard was still alive, he was either an idiot or really had some strength to dare to use such a name to make a fortune. Look at his men, who can sneak into Mariajoy without anyone noticing. It seems that it should belong to the latter. It's just that if you want to win the title of 7 warlords of the sea, you don't have a bit of courage and a little power. It also needs to have enough reputation to deter other pirates. The little-known pirates can't scare other pirates. Please don't worry about this. We already have our own plan for this issue, and it only takes a little more time. Aizen listened silently at the side, and he was also very clear about the plan Lafitte said. The original plan of Teach and others was just to capture a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million in the first half, and use this as a token of honor in exchange for the name of Shichibukai. I just didn't expect to meet Ace halfway. After that, Ace was handed over to Marine and Teach was named Shichibukai. However, Aizen didn't mean to stop these things, but was interested in the violent former West Blue security officer. Dare to break into Mariajoy alone, this is not something that ordinary people can do. In addition to possessing considerable strength, one must also have extraordinary courage. As a pirate, he can show no timidity in front of Martial Marine and Shichibukai. Are you really not afraid, or are you ready to sacrifice? Compared to Teach, who is willing to work for a devil fruit, has been mediocre in the Whitebeard pirates for decades, and even prepared to be like this for a lifetime. Aizen is more interested in the security officer. Aizen once knew about him. There are no cases of shooting innocent people, but the methods imposed on criminals exceed their responsibility for crimes, and the process is also a little violent. These are nothing in this chaotic era. Evil people naturally need evil people to grind. I didn't intend to find you, but since you showed up by yourself, I will give you a chance. Aizen thought to himself, the corners of his mouth still smiling. Just at this moment, Lafitte seemed to feel something in his heart, and his body froze inexplicably. A sense of horror surged, as if being stared at by some terrible beast. My heart suddenly became tense. Holding the brim of his hat, he swallowed his saliva. I don't know what my proposal is, what do you think? If that's the case, then I'll give you a chance. Sengoku said lightly, Shichibukai is not important at all, as long as it serves as a deterrent. At first, I was still struggling to find someone, but now that someone has volunteered and prepared a plan to vote for a certificate. Then see how well they do. Then I will take my leave first. After getting a clear answer from Marshal Sengoku, Lafitte didn't want to stay any longer. The substantial chill just now, although it just passed by for a moment, he definitely wasn't an illusion. Among the big men present, one must have his eye on him. Who on earth is it? Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo? Or Tyrant Bear? Or is it the Hawkeye Mihawk who was known as the world's #1 swordsman? Watching him under the gaze of everyone, his hands turned into a pair of dove-like wings, and he was about to fly away from here. Aizen's elbow pressing on the saber moved forward slightly, and pulled out the saber an inch. Looking in the direction of Lafitte, his lips moved slightly, but he didn't make a sound. Shatter. Kyoka Suigetsu. No one noticed, only Lafitte, who was facing the crowd, vaguely saw the edge of a blade disappear in an instant. Is it an illusion? Not caring much, Lafitte spread his wings and left. After he left, Sengoku came up with several names one after another. Whitebeard 2 Edward Wable, 8 Treasures Navy Pillar Green Pepper, Giant Pirate Pans Fry. These are all Shichibukai candidates included in the world government, either with extraordinary personal strength or huge influence. If that Blackbeard teach is not useful, it is best to contact other candidates in time. During the discussion, Hawkeye learned some news about Straw Hat Crew by insinuating. Until the meeting ended smoothly, everyone thought it was finally all right. He looked at Aizen again. It's over, let's find a place. Chapter 9 Courtesy of Celestial Dragons. Advertise here. Really want to fight? Sengoku frowned. What happened to Hawkeye, who never asked about worldly affairs? Not only did he attend the Shichibukai meeting, which he had never attended, but he also wanted to fight his disciples persistently. How many caddies and tails a student can have, does he, as a teacher, know? It is impossible to be the opponent of Hawkeye. Could it be that Aizen offended him before, and now he wants to find a chance to teach Aizen some lessons? Hawkeye, with your strength, isn't it necessary? Chief of Staff, he asked suspiciously. Hawkeye still fixed his eyes on Aizen, and replied without turning his head, he has the qualifications. He was full of fighting spirit, and he didn't have the slightest intention of giving up. It seems that if there is no fight today, Mr. Mihawk will not give up. Feeling the aura of the opponent, Aizen couldn't help but feel a little headache. Should it be said that he is the #1 swordsman in the world? To actually grab him with just a trace of exposed breath, it's not time to reveal it yet. Fortunately, he had prevented this situation before. Just when Hawkeye's fighting spirit remained undiminished and everyone was thinking about what to do, Marine, who was guarding outside the door, rushed to report. Marshal, Shalulia Palace is here, and has arrived at the door of the conference hall. What? How did she come to such a place? Sengoku immediately became nervous when he heard this. This is not a place where those damn celestial dragons can give orders casually. The Marine and world government officials present are nothing more than that. Those 3 Shichibukai people are all arrogant people, and they will not be used to them. If something is said to anger the other party, a big battle may be inevitable. Celestial dragons is not something that will judge the situation and take the overall situation into consideration. With their virtues, trouble is almost inevitable. Just when Sengoku was about to let Brother Ming and others leave first, the tinkling of the chains colliding with a lot of footsteps came. Shalulia Palace, this is where the Shichibukai meeting is held. A CP member in a black suit said to Shalulia, who was sitting on top of the naked man. Shalulia didn't speak after hearing this, and even uncharacteristically didn't ask the low-level officials present and the 3 guys in strange clothes to kneel down. After glancing around, he locked his eyes on Aizen. Warmly greeted him. Mr. Aizen, I finally found you. This time at Mariajoy, why didn't you tell me in advance? It's really bad hospitality to let you stay in such a simple place. Where, Shalulia Palace is really too polite. I came this time to accept a mission, so why bother? Aizen spoke softly, completely unaware of the strange gazes around him. Compared with others who were shocked by the calm and polite attitude of celestial dragons, Sengoku and Brother Ming were in a much richer mood. I knew this kid was close to celestial dragons, but I didn't expect to be so close. Could it be that he wants to recruit a son-in-law? Impossible. How could celestial dragons recruit ordinary people as sons-in-law? Known as the resourceful general, Sengoku feels in a daze now. Not to mention the former celestial dragons, Brother Ming on the other side, he has the most say when it comes to the virtues of celestial dragons. What is the origin of this guy? It seems that we have to check it out when we go back. Virgo didn't even report such important information. As for Hawkeye, after clarifying the purpose of the disruptive celestial dragons, he left in disappointment. Just before leaving, I left such a sentence. Let's save the battle between you and me for the next time. At that time, I will personally pull out your scabbard and test how fine you are. Because of Shalulia's arrival, Hawkeye's appointment with Aizen can only be let go. Shichibukai's meeting ended here. After getting Sengoku's tacit consent, Aizen accepted Shalulia's invitation and followed her back to the mansion. On the way back, Shalulia didn't even sit on the captain's slave that she rode when she came, but walked back side by side with Aizen. People I met along the way were all amazed that this Marine Vice Admiral could talk to celestial dragons on an equal footing, and they seemed to have a good time talking and laughing. Especially the target is the arrogant Shalulia Palace. In this way, the group quickly arrived at their destination, the mansion of Saint Roswald. Roswald is also Shalulia's father, the family that was beaten by Luffy in the Sabayati archipelago in the original plot. Aizen walked into the mansion with a gentle smile. The moment the gate closed, Shalulia Palace, who was originally parallel to him, immediately bowed his head respectfully, and hurriedly stepped back to distance himself from Aizen. Master Aizen, Please forgive the rude concubine just now. Shilulia showed such a humble gesture. The strange thing is that the whole mansion didn't feel anything wrong, whether it was a CP member or slave servant. Even her elder brother, Street Charles Rose, and her father, Street Roswald, knelt at the door of the inner sanctum. Meet Master Aizen. Chapter 10 Controlled Celestial Dragons, invite Lafitte. Advertise here. It's so slow. Yuta's voice came from the inner hall. Aizen smiled and passed between the two kneeling celestial dragons without even looking at them. Shilulia, who was following behind him, also knelt down with her father and elder brother when she walked to the door, and the three of them faced the house side by side. Sure enough, no matter how many times I watch it, it's still so shocking. Hyoka Suigetsu, what a terrifying ability. Walking in front of Aizen and looking at the nobles and members of the CP organization kneeling behind him, Yuta couldn't help but sigh. He then raised his own questions. Since you can manipulate them through complete hypnosis, why not just take over the world government? Although she is the adopted daughter of the red-haired girl, she was greatly hurt by her childhood experiences. In the future, there was even an idea of using the fruit ability to create an effect similar to infinite Tsukuyomi, allowing everyone in the world to obtain happiness in a false world. Yuta like this has no objection to hypnosis methods, and even feels that it is too slow for Aizen to only control the Roswald family. Yuta, people who are eager for success are the most likely to fail. World government is not as fragile as you think. Just wait quietly, the opportunity will appear soon. Aizen looked at her with deep eyes. Yuta looked a little sullen after hearing this, but since he said so, there was nothing he could do. Who called him Aizen? The reason why we think the flowers on the rock wall are beautiful is because we are standing on the rock wall. It is not like flowers, stepping towards the sky. That day, on the ruins of Music Island, he stretched out his hand to himself and issued an invitation to change the world. Okay, everything will go according to your plan. Yuta folded his arms, and while speaking a little arrogantly, he glanced aside. Then why did you send this guy here? In the corner, the Lafitte who had left long ago was hanging in the air, flapping his wings on the spot, flying for a long time without being able to take a step forward. And at this moment, in his conscious world, on the endless sea, the sea breeze blows. Lafitte frowned and looked at his feet suspiciously. What's going on? I remember that there was an island in this direction before. Why did it suddenly disappear? Suddenly recalling the uneasy atmosphere, the whole person immediately became alert. No, there is a problem here. Is that person catching up? Pulled out the sword in the middle of the cane, looked around. Your Excellency came after me, what's the matter? Waited for a long time without getting a response, just when his patience was about to wear off. A whisper rang in the ear. Untie. In Lafitte's eyes, he who was still at sea suddenly appeared in a magnificent palace. A man and a woman stared at him, smiling but not smiling. That Vice Admiral who recognized me in the conference hall earlier. Lafitte backed away quickly, keeping distance from the two of them. Why keep the distance? If you want to attack me, you should get closer to me. Or are you afraid? If that's the case, it's pointless to back off. Battle distance will be meaningful, only when the opponent's strength is equal. Between you and me, the distance does not have any meaning. Aizen sat on the throne in the hall, looking down at him. The contempt between the words is beyond words. Do not. Perhaps indifference can better express Aizen's state at the moment. I didn't expect it to be your excellency. Lafitte forced a smile twice, and became more vigilant in his heart. I don't know why Mr. Vice Admiral brought me to this place. He knew very well that he could have brought him here without him noticing. The opponent either has strange abilities, or is an extremely strong master. Although he also has some strength, there is absolutely no room for resistance. He has not forgotten the bone-chilling chill before. What gave you the illusion that you've left here? Leave. Lafitte quickly grasped the point. He looked back and saw three celestial dragons wearing fishbowls kneeling in a row outside the gate of the palace. This, here, is Mariajoy. For a moment, Lafitte fell into an ice cave. In his consciousness, he had been flying for a full 4 hours. Even Mariajoy didn't come out, and he came here under the guidance of the mysterious man in front of him. In his eyes at this moment, Aizen is like a black hand standing behind the world. Mystery. Horrible. Even the celestial dragons of the world's nobles pay homage to him. What kind of identity is it to do such a thing? What exactly do you want? Suppressing his emotions, his face was unprecedentedly solemn. He didn't think that such an unknown person like himself had any qualifications to be coveted by such people. Even his captain who has many secrets and can control the ability of two fruits. Thinking about it, he shouldn't be qualified for this. Want to stand by my side? Lafitte. Chapter 11. The Surrender of Lafitte. Advertise here. This is an invitation. Is that so? Lafitte finally heaved a sigh of relief. He took back the stick and sword in his hand, straightened his collar and top hat. After a while, he returned to his previous calm appearance, just like when he was in the conference hall. During the whole process, Aizen just watched quietly, with appreciation in his eyes. Yuta, who was watching his expression all the time, looked at him curiously. She couldn't figure out why Aizen would be optimistic about a guy who is not strong and has weak fruit ability. It seems that apart from flying, there is nothing special. She watched them like a bystander. After Lafitte adjusted his state, he gave a slight salute to Aizen on the throne. A standard etiquette for meeting West Blue commoners and nobles. Your Excellency, is there anything else you want to serve? He was not in a hurry to express his opinion, but instead asked a crucial question. That is, in Aizen's eyes, what is his value and why is he? After all, in his opinion, what can celestial dragons bow down to in this world? I'm afraid the other party's vice admiral status is just a disguise. Don't think about it too much, just like you joined the Blackbeard pirates. Now I invite you to stand by my side, that's all. I'm a pirate, so, as a pirate, do you still care about betrayal? Lafitte grinned when he heard this, his bright red lips combined with his pale skin made him look a lot weirder. I really don't care. Fraud, betrayal, chaos, violence, are just commonplace among pirates. It's just. Lafitte flipped off the brim of his hat with his fingers, showing a pair of evil and crazy eyes. If you want to get the allegiance of your subordinates, you must at least show enough sincerity. He is not someone who will surrender with just a few words just because of the other party's extraordinary status. Without warning, the sword in his hand came out of its sheath. The whole person rushed towards Aizen at an extremely fast speed, and the dark purple slash came out of his hand, and rushed in front of Aizen. Got it. At such a close distance, there is no defense. Are you underestimating the enemy? Why is this woman on the side showing that strange expression? Before he had time to think about it, Lafitte's sword had already struck Aizen. The weird thing is that it doesn't have the feel of machete meat, but it seems to be looking at something very hard. Taking a closer look, Lafitte's triumphant expression instantly collapsed, and big beads of sweat appeared on his face. No, it's impossible. Aizen curled up the other four fingers, blocking Lafitte's slash with only the little finger of his right hand. No matter how the opponent made a move, the blade in his hand failed to score half a point. Armament hockey. No, not right. Lafitte denied his inner thoughts. He didn't understand why someone's body could be so strong. Is it fruit ability? Just as he was thinking wildly, a voice interrupted him. The knife swing is good, but the strength is not good. Looking up at the face that was close at hand, with a gentle smile, what could not hide was the pair of indifferent eyes. Aizen gently bent the little finger down, and stroked it against the side of the sword. Bah! The sword in Lafitte's hand actually sent out a slash from the spine, and attacked in the opposite direction towards his master holding the sword. In an instant, blood gushed out. Blood flowers bloom in the air. A wound cut obliquely down from the left shoulder and spreading all the way to the fourth rib on the right appeared on Lafitte. It never occurred to him that the person in front of him actually put his little finger on it, and thus snatched the right to use his shuriken sword. And sent out this slash in reverse. Plop. Seriously injured, Lafitte fell to his knees. Yuan looked like a knight kneeling before his lord to swear allegiance. Holding back the pain, he raised his head. This Marine Vice Admiral was looking down at himself, with a huge portrait of the creator behind him, reflecting the bright golden color on his body. This scene is really incredible. In Lafitte's eyes, which had been filled with violence and cruelty for a long time, there was a trace of piety. So powerful and elegant, such a strong person is more worthy of following. Lafitte has met your lord. The posture of kneeling is still the same, but in a short moment, the mentality of the worshipper has undergone earth-shaking changes. You made the right choice, Lafitte, Aizen said while putting his hand on Lafitte's forehead. After a burst of fluorescent green light lit up in his palm, Lafitte unexpectedly discovered that the wound on his body was gradually healing, and the blood spattered out was continuously flowing back into the wound. Is this also the ability of devil fruit? What kind of fruit do adults eat? To be able to have so many abilities at the same time. Chapter 12 Transforming Arenkar, The World of Suffocation. Advertise here. Looking at the scene in front of him, Yuta raised his eyebrows. Why does this scene look so familiar? Especially the shocked look on his face when she saw the light of Kaido, heal Lafitte. It was exactly the same as the original self. But now she is not the same as before. Reaching out to touch Zanpakuto on her waist, she has now turned on Reiatsu and is a serious Shinigami. Don't be surprised, it's just a trick. Lafitte stood up and looked at himself in surprise. Except for the cut on the clothes, there was no trace of injury. Seeing his appearance, Aizen asked with a chuckle, do you want it? Huh. Hearing this, Lafitte was puzzled. Can this ability be given? Aizen didn't speak, and a gemstone emitting blue-black light flew out of his palm and hovered above it. Lafitte couldn't understand it, but he could feel the weird energy emanating from it. He can give you more power, but it will hurt a little. Will it hurt a little? Yuta stood aside, looking at Aizen sullenly. That's what he said to himself before, but she almost died as a result. If it weren't for the strong will, he would have survived at the last moment. I'm afraid that like some other people, they couldn't bear such a transformation, and died in an explosion. This guy is always able to understate such dangerous things. Snort. Lafitte's gaze was drawn to Hogyoku, a longing from the soul was lured out. It was as if an unknown voice was telling him that by accepting this power, he could become stronger. Will it hurt a little? Of course he understands the subtext of this sentence, but in order to gain great power, everything is worth it. Want it? Of course, please reward me, my lord. But just die. He, Lafitte, is not the kind of trash who would risk his life to save his life at critical moments. As long as he has enough interests, he can overwhelm anything. Satisfied with his performance, Aizen gently squeezed Hogyoku as it fell into his hands. Then, as you wish. The palm holding Hogyoku stabs out instantly, piercing Lafitte's body without any reaction. Lafitte looked at the scene in front of him in surprise, not understanding why he shot at him, but also looked at his chest strangely. There was no bleeding and no pain. Just centering on the jewel named Hogyoku, a bowl-sized hollow appeared on his body. This is. Before he could think about it, a sharp pain came to his bones. The holes in the eyes, nose, mouth, and chest seemed to be crazily trying to get out. At the same time, he also felt as if something was disappearing little by little. It's just that under that severe pain, he has lost the ability to think. Under the gaze of the two of Aizen, a large amount of pale bone substance emerged from Lafitte's body, enveloping it at an extremely fast speed. After those substances were completely finalized, Lafitte was fixed in place like a living figurine. Oh, why is it different from my original situation? Seeing his change, Yuta looked at Aizen strangely. Of course not, I'm going to transform him into Arankar, and you are Shinigami. Arankar. Is this the Arankar he mentioned? What's the difference between Arankar and Shinigami? Arankar is a void that has mastered the power of Shinigami. Although it will condense Zanpakuto similar to Shinigami after successful transformation, its essence is still void. Their souls are incomplete, and there must be parts missing. Quote. Is his soul incomplete? No, I need him to be incomplete. Why? I admire him very much, but I have to admit that as a pirate, his madness, paranoia, and violence are not what I want. As a knife in my hand, I just need him to be what I want. You can think of this as a means of personality modification. Quote. Aizen's calm voice made Yuta shudder. This guy is really scary. While Yuta was thankful that he had not suffered such treatment, he also had a little expectation for the huge stage, he once said. Now he still needs a little time, let's seize this time and get down to business. We can't stay here for too long. As he spoke, Aizen called in the 3 celestial dragons kneeling outside the door. The Roswald family climbed into the inner hall as soon as they were summoned. In the palace where they used to be domineering, they crawled like livestock, just like the captains and slaves they rode. Bloated, dirty, Aizen looked at their pig-like posture with cold eyes, with an indifferent expression. Look, what a sad thing that the world has fallen into the hands of these pigs. It's really suffocating. Chapter 13 Ideas and Dreams. Advertise here. The relationship between Aizen and Yuta is not so much a subordination relationship as a semi-cooperative follower. The meaning of the two to achieve the ultimate goal is also completely different. Yuta wants to create a world that makes everyone happy. After learning about the existence of the world government and celestial dragons, she knows that the biggest curse in the world is here. At that time, she hadn't thought of the plan to use the ability of Gurgur fruit to build a false world. She also simply thinks about solving the root of the problem. Just want to overthrow the world government, need enough strength, enough fame. There is also enough risk to ensure that all measures can be carried out smoothly after the overthrow. She doesn't have any of these. At this time, Aizen appeared. Calm, strong and resourceful. Aizen also wants to overthrow the world government, but his purpose is different from Yuta. Just can't stand the world falling into the hands of the celestial dragons. In Pangu City, the false god who stole the throne of God handed over the world to a group of the dirtiest and most stinky things. The world needs a real god. If this world can only be occupied by maggots, it is better to destroy it. The two people with different beliefs also gathered together for the same purpose. Master Aizen, these are the things you want, and it took a long time for CP to investigate clearly. In the eyes of outsiders, the mighty Saint Roswald knelt on the ground trembling at this moment. He held a sealed document bag in his hand and presented it. What is this? When Aizen opened the file and began to look through it, Yuta couldn't help asking. Aizen didn't speak, just looked at the thing in his hand after a moment, and handed it to her. After Yuta took it, he was shocked by the news above with just one glance. Is this the truth about what happened to Zephyr Admiral? Let me go and kill him. She gritted her silver teeth tightly, showing resentment, and she was about to kill someone. Only this time, Aizen, who has always been loose with her, didn't agree. Let's leave his life to Mr. Zephyr, it's a thank you gift for him. Thank you ceremony. Yuta smiled after hearing this. It's more than that. I remember that you only stayed in his training camp for less than a month before being taken away by the marshal. And it took so long to send you away. I think it's just a bribe. Although she was also very angry, since Aizen had already made plans, she was relieved not to ask any more questions. It's just that after getting along for so long, she can occasionally touch some of Aizen's thoughts. Inexplicably happy, Aizen didn't say a word, it was acquiescence to her statement. A marine former admiral defected in front of the whole world, what kind of waves will it cause? He looked forward to the opening of the grand stage not long after that. Yuta continued to flip through the thick stack of documents. It contains all kinds of scandals covered up by the world government, the scandal of celestial dragons, the corruption of officials. The biggest force in the world is like an old machine, already riddled with holes. Damn it, how dare this group of people do this? There is even Marine, are they worthy of the cloak of justice they wear behind them? The more Yuta looked down, the angrier he became. She really couldn't figure out why there were so many people doing dirty things behind the scenes even in Marine. It was nothing like what she had seen all along. She is already the captain of the headquarters, and she has made many friends in Marine. Like Tashigi, the sword idiot who was transferred to East Blue 2 years ago, Hina, the fashionable and sexy colonel of the headquarters, and a group of little sisters from the staff department. Each of those people gave her excellent senses, plus her usual observations. It also made her have a good impression of Marine, the largest violent institution under the world government. She can understand that after an organization reaches a certain scale, there will inevitably be moths, and she also understands that Marine is subject to the world government. But the things on these documents gave her a deeper understanding of Marine. Looking at her murderous aura that kept overflowing, and Zanpakuto whose waist kept shaking. Calm down, Yuta, Reiatsu cast on Aizen, forcibly pacifying Yuta, who was gradually showing signs of going berserk. Impulse will only make you run counter to success, that moment is coming soon, wait a little longer. Yuta, who was soothed by Reiatsu, took deep breaths one after another to calm down his mind. I see. She nodded fiercely, but the determined murderous look in her eyes did not diminish in the slightest. Aizen knew she was being patient, and gave her reasons for the small differences between the two of them all the time. Even a righteous Marine will corrode when given power and power. Rather than tinkering with this huge, bloated machine, I'd rather build a new one myself. Chapter 14 Successful Transformation, Undercover Blackbeard Pirates. Advertise here. After getting the evidence materials provided by Roswald, the two quietly waited for Lafitte's result. After such a long time, he won't die, right? He has succeeded. Feeling the gradually stabilizing Reiatsu inside Lafitte, Aizen smiled slightly. First, this is the first Arrancar that has been successfully transformed since his numerous experiments. After consuming an unknown number of pirate test subjects, Arrancar finally appeared on the sea. Crack. The bone shell outside Lafitte's body began to shatter, like a young animal breaking its shell. A steady and weak Reiatsu gradually became violent, rushing like a raging wind, shaking the shell fragments around him. Lafitte appeared in front of the two in a completely new image. Not only the hole in his chest, but also half a bone mask on his forehead. The mask is connected to the temples on both sides, showing a spiral pattern like eyes. In addition, a black one appeared on his exposed shoulders under his torn clothes. Dark purple Reiatsu is also exuded all over. Lafitte was intoxicated by the powerful power, eager to vent this power. Just when he was about to continue, a voice made him calm down instantly. Lafitte. Reiatsu dissipated in an instant, and Lafitte lowered his head restrainedly. Sorry, my lord. This subordinate is too complacent. Aizen nodded, and waved for Cherulia to fetch a new dress, and let it be worn for Lafitte. The service of the celestial dragons is unbelievable. Lafitte, I need you to do something. My lord, please give me instructions. Without the slightest delay, Lafitte knelt on one knee and waited for the order. Back to teach. Lafitte looked up at Aizen. Go, I need you to make sure that the stage play that was supposed to be staged will be performed as usual. Yes, this subordinate will leave. Although he didn't understand what Aizen's words meant, it didn't prevent him from understanding the purpose of this mission. Undercover Blackbeard Pirates. Until Lafitte left, Yuta still looked at it with his head hooked. Come on Yuta, we've wasted a lot of time. You said how could Arrancar still be alive with such a big hole in his chest? This is one of the characteristics of Shu, where there should be a causal chain connecting the soul and the body. Aizen took the trouble to explain it to her. But it's okay not to say, Yuta's curiosity seemed to be aroused. Often a question will lead to several follow-up questions. She walked beside Aizen and asked non-stop. Such as, what is the causal chain? Body, soul. Just when Lafitte rushed to meet up with Teach and others at the agreed place with all his strength. On the other side, the Blackbeard pirates are chasing the Straw Hat Luffy gang. An extremely crude raft pirate ship is sprinting towards Going Merry where Luffy and others are located at full speed. Straw Hat Boy, you can't escape. Blackbeard Teach stood on the raft, shouting at the top of his voice. On both sides of the raft, the helmsman Badgers and the ship's Dr. Duque were rowing hard on the oars. It's just that in their primitive way, the speed is too slow. The distance from Luffy and the others was too far, so that Luffy couldn't hear what he was saying. Isn't that an uncle with bad taste? How did he come here? Looking at Teach in the distance, Luffy said strangely. When the two were in Magic Valley Town, there was a huge difference because of the taste of Sakura peach pie and drinks. Teach is also classified as poor taste by Luffy. Idiot. No matter how you look at it, it's not good intentions. Looking at the crooked looks of these people, and Teach's wild and wanton laughter. Zoro was keenly aware of the opponent's intentions. Not only him, but Sanji, who was leaning on the deck railing, also noticed this, and he silently took out the lighter from his pocket. After lighting a cigarette, he assumed a fighting stance. On the contrary, it is Nami in the timid trio, now he can't care about chasing soldiers or not. At this moment, the pointer of the permanent compass on her wrist is spinning uncontrollably. Suddenly left and right, it is impossible to figure out where to point. With a gust of sea breeze blowing, the slender hair fluttered. The chaotic magnetic field is getting stronger and stronger, and the updraft is coming soon. Hurry up, or it will be very dangerous. But the people there don't seem to intend to let us go like this. Zoro pressed the sword lock with one hand, and looked in the direction of Blackbeard and the others. Thief ha ha ha, Straw Hat Boy, I didn't recognize you last time in Magic Valley Town, so you ran away. I didn't expect a guy like you to have a bounty of 100 million. Today I will use your head and let my name as Blackbeard spread across the sea. Chapter 15. Arresting Crocodile. Advertise here. 100 million bounty, is he talking about me? It was only after Teach took out the reward order that Luffy and the others learned the news belatedly. What? This green algae head has also been offered a reward, and it's still 60 million, damn it. The people in the boat were enthusiastic, and they left Teach who was chasing him aside. This made Teach very angry, and ordered to both sides, quickly speed up and catch up, I want to show some color to these little devils. I feel I'm going to die. Poison Q stuck out his tongue sickly, looking half dead. What nonsense, hurry up. Grab the Straw Hat Boy and wait until Lafitte comes back to join us, and our plan will be realized. Although Blackbeard's request was a bit overwhelming, the two still tried their best. Seeing the distance getting closer, Blackbeard couldn't help but burst out laughing. Thief ha ha ha, hiccup. At this moment, a strange air flow penetrated through his leaky teeth, interrupting his laughter. Immediately afterwards, the surface of the water began to surge, like boiling water. A soaring jet of water flew out from the bottom of the sea, sending their pirate ship flying into the sky. But Teach's raft could not withstand the impact and was directly scattered in the sea. Straw Hat Boy, just wait for me, I won't let you go. Teach leaned on the surface of the water with a wooden stake, and roared unwillingly. Naval Headquarters, Office of the Marshal in Marineford. Sengoku looked at the disciple in front of him without speaking for a long time, he looked up and down Aizen with weird eyes. The teacher asked me for something. Aizen waited for a long time but did not see Sengoku speak, so he had no choice but to ask. Ahem. His reminder made Sengoku cough twice in embarrassment, and then said after putting it away. Aizen, logically speaking, whether as your superior or your teacher, I shouldn't ask those personal questions. It's just that the situation with celestial dragons is complicated, the teacher hopes you can be more cautious. Quote. Although he was firm in front of Crane last time, expressing his trust in his disciple, but in fact he was not sure. If the disciples who worked hard to cultivate were really attracted by the celestial dragons, that loss would be too great. Teacher, you really misunderstood. Sha Luyuli Palace's family just thanked me for saving my life. Aizen explained softly. 2 years ago, the Roswald family went on a cruise and encountered a group of terrifying monsters. Each one is 5 or 6 meters high, huge and different in size. The only similarity is that there is a layer of bone-like armor on the outside of their heads, and there is a hole in the chest. Aizen, who was Commodore at the time, arrived just in time to save the whole family after the entire ship's guards were killed. At the same time, I also received the gratitude and courtesy of this celestial dragons. It's just strange that no matter how Marine searched after that, they were never found again. Okay, I'm just reminding you, you don't need to explain to me. As my disciple, I still believe in you. He said so, but Sengoku, who got Aizen's explanation, still nodded in a subtle way. The Vice Admiral level fleet has been arranged for you. There just happens to be a mission here, so just take a trip. Quote. Saying so, Sengoku took out a document from the drawer. The teacher wants me to go to Impel down. Sengoku leaned back on his seat with a solemn expression. This mission requires you to join Smoker and the others to successfully send Crocodile into Impel down. Clear. Concise as always. After receiving the task, Aizen will notify it as quickly as possible. The officers and soldiers of the fleet they belong to immediately moved after receiving the order. Aizen's fleet of Vice Admirals sailed out of Marineford that afternoon. On the deck, Yuta, who has been exceptionally promoted to Major of Naval Headquarters, stands beside Aizen. It's really rare, you actually go to sea so actively, can you tell me why? Aizen stood on the bow of the warship, looking at the boundless sea in front of him, without looking back. Instead of answering Yuta's question, he asked back, maybe I will meet an interesting person this time, and I think you will be interested in him too. Interesting person. Since Yuta left Red Hair Pirates, she stayed on Music Island until she met Aizen before joining Marine. Something that would interest her. Was it a musician like Madame Maria Napoleon? Chapter 16 Hina. Advertise here. The first half of the Grand Line, the waters off Ganapa's Island. A warship is parked on the sea. Colonel Hina, with pale pink hair parted in the middle, was pacing back and forth, looking at the distant sea from time to time. Zhangao and Fanbudi in the corner leaned together, whispering to each other. What's wrong with Colonel Hina? He looks very nervous. We joined the colonel together, you don't know how I know. They thought they were quiet enough. But it still didn't escape Hina's ears. She turned her head and said to the two of them, Hina is very angry. Have you two decks been cleaned? Just chat there. This loud shout startled the two, whispering. We are already seaman recruit. No need to wash the deck. Oh, Hina looked at the two with indifferent eyes, and put on a dangerous expression. Is Hina wrong? Yes, we were wrong. Let's go now. Seeing this, the two immediately bowed their heads and admitted their mistake, and hastily grabbed the mop from the sundry soldier beside them, and began to clean it diligently. Seeing this scene, Smoker, who was traveling with him, covered his forehead with some nerve-wracking. Is it necessary? You should be able to meet him easily in the headquarters. Just now, he wanted to light a cigar for himself, but just as he took it out, Hina snatched it away. Originally, Smoker was still wondering why Hina had always smoked cigarettes, why he suddenly became interested in his cigars today. Although it was strange, he didn't think much about it. Maybe it's because you've been smoking cigarettes for a long time, and you just want to change your taste. Just when he took out the second one from his arms and wanted to light it for himself, it was taken by Hina again. What's the matter with you? Why are you grabbing my cigar? Senior Aizen is coming soon. You are not allowed to smoke on Hina's boat. ... Wait until Aizen joins them. Hina and Smoker went up with their respective adjutants. Senior Aizen, it's been a long time. Hina is very happy. Hina walked up to him with a smile, and looked at Aizen with eyes full of admiration. Looks like a real fangirl. On the other hand, Smoker, who was half a body behind her and was even bigger and taller, was full of displeasure. It is also rare that he does not have a cigar in his mouth. Hina, Smoker, long time no see. Looking at the two former juniors, Aizen showed enough kindness and gentleness. Just when Hina was about to say something, Smoker said first, Vice Admiral, can I smoke? Hina's smiling face froze immediately, and she turned her head to glare at Smoker. When he earned it back, he changed back to a gentle face, and Yuta, who was watching from the side, exclaimed fiercely. Unexpectedly, after a short period of time, my good friend has learned such a skill. Hee, senior, he was joking. Hina said with a sneer, ignoring Smoker's ugly face behind her. Okay. Aizen looked at Smoker and answered his request in the affirmative. And said to Hina on the side, don't violate your own heart, be true to yourself. You can't impose your wishes on others, and respect others. Especially for friends, we must be careful to maintain them. Friendship is often tenacious and fragile. Quote. Hina looked a little ashamed after hearing this, and lowered her head, not daring to look directly. The senior is still as elegant and wise as before. The unhappiness on Smoker's face has also reduced a lot, leaving that little part. Maybe he was upset with Aizen's preaching. When he was in the training camp, Aizen, as the teaching assistant of Mr. Zephyr, did a lot of preaching. As the assassin at the time, he was the key object of care. ... Seeing that neither of them spoke, Aizen smiled slightly. Looking at the board on the other side, a group of pirates are being escorted to Aizen's ship. As the number one felon in this escort, Sand Crocodile is also the focus of attention. Can't help but be restrained by sea stone handcuffs, and locked by many marines with guns. Huh, are you the Vice Admiral this time? Crocodile looked fierce, looked Aizen up and down and said, a face I've never seen before, is there no one in Marine? Hina is very angry, even a prisoner dares to speak wild words. Hina glared, like a furious tigress. Just as she was about to teach Crocodile a lesson, a hand behind her blocked her. Don't let anger take over your brain, let me do it. Beyond Hina, Aizen walked towards Crocodile. When passing by Smoker, he took a cigar from his chest. Would you mind giving me one? Up to you. Smoker glanced his face aside and said indifferently. Thanks. Aizen walked in front of the Sand Crocodile, under the astonished gaze of all the Marines. Lighted the cigar for him himself. Chapter 17 Buggy. Am I exposed? Advertise here. Hiss. Who? For several days after his arrest, Crocodile, a prisoner, never touched a cigar again. He took a deep breath, the long-lost smell. Boy, do you want to get information from me? With these sarcasm, he looked at Aizen. If this is the case, then you will be disappointed. I have nothing to tell you. Hee, you're thinking too much. Aizen was not angry after hearing this, but just let out a chuckle and passed by him. I just mourn the former strong man at sea, but he ended up like this. So you always taunt lousy. Crocodile said angrily. He looked at Aizen's back and counterattacked unceremoniously. It's all right for you to deceive those civilians. You really think that lousy was captured by your marine? To ridicule lousy, do you have the qualifications? Hearing his words, Aizen's forward steps stopped. Turning his head and squinting at Crocodile behind him, he said with a regretful expression, it's really a sad thing, you actually think so. The sea breeze blew, and the brown hair moved slightly. Aizen's eyes were deep and inexplicable. I didn't mean to ridicule you for being arrested, I just lamented that the man who once dared to challenge Whitebeard was reduced to the point of chasing things. Quote. Humph. Crocodile was silent for a while, and took a deep look at Aizen. After a cold snort, he turned and walked towards the cabin. The soldiers in charge of escorting him also immediately became alert and escorted him down carefully. Before he took a few steps, his figure stopped. He said with an extremely unhappy expression. What lousy is going to do, it's not your turn to teach me a lesson. Wait until Crocodile is taken to the ship's prison. After Aizen, Smoker and others approached. Does he think he's still a Shichibukai? Sure enough, he's an arrogant pirate. As Aizen's loyal supporter, Hina was extremely dissatisfied with Crocodile's attitude just now. In her opinion, it is a great honor to be able to listen to the teachings of the seniors. Remember back in training camp. Because of her identity as a woman, her physical strength is far inferior to other male students of the same age, and her grades have always been in the middle and lower levels. Despite countless efforts, he still had little effect and was easily surpassed by others. That period of time was gloomy, and the tremendous pressure once made her think of shrinking back. It was Aizen Sr.'s comfort that made her survive those years. His every word, every teaching. Just like Ganyu, supporting her all the way to the present. Supporting the once poor students to become the colonel of the headquarters, it also surpassed many students in the same period. Hina doesn't allow someone to be so rude to seniors. Sensing Hina's dissatisfaction, Aizen patted her on the shoulder. Showing a slightly helpless look in distress. Don't be angry, it's my fault this time. After hearing this, Hina quickly waved her hands. No, it's because he doesn't know what to do. Before she finished speaking, Aizen shook her head slightly. Smoker and Tashigi behind him looked at Aizen suspiciously. Aizen's voice came faintly. A strong man like him has his own beliefs. Whether he is right or wrong, no one can allow others to question him. What's more, in this situation, my words may seem to him more like a lesson from the superior. He admitted it sincerely, blaming himself for the mistake. While Smoker was greatly surprised, Hina also cast admiring gazes. Do you analyze yourself and reflect on yourself all the time? The senior is really so amazing. Soon, the transfer of important prisoners is over. Except for some unnamed little pirates who remained on Hina's ship, those who had a reward were transferred to the prison on Aizen's ship. Yuta, who patrolled around, also came back to them. The transfer is over, do you need to go to the ship to resupply first? Or go straight away? Although there is still a gap between Yuta and Hina in terms of military ranks, they are good at private education on weekdays. It's also a lot more casual to speak. Before this, we have already replenished, let's go directly. When the warship started sailing in the direction of Impel down, everyone went back to their own rooms. Yuta followed Aizen. Until there was no one else around, he couldn't help but ask, where is the person you said I would be interested in? You should have seen it. See. Yuta clasped his hands, lowered his head and tried to remember. Her whole face was pulled up, but she still couldn't think of anyone who interested her. That clown buggy. Clown. Yuta suddenly remembered that when he was looking for it just now, there was indeed a guy who looked like a clown. It's a guy with a red nose that looks kind of funny. She couldn't help but take a second look. Is there anything special about that guy? After Yuta learned that Aizen was talking about him, he was obviously a little bit less interested. It's funny if it's funny, what is there to pay attention to for such a small character whose bounty is less than 20 million Baileys? But Aizen's next words surprised her. He was an intern on the same boat as Hongfa back then, and he was a very good friend. Good friends. At least that's how it looks to the Redhead. Chapter 18 Arriving at Impel Down. Advertise here. After several days of sailing, the warship sailed through the Gate of Justice. The distance to Impel Down is also getting closer. Aizen Vice Admiral, we will be at Impel Down in 2 hours, and we have contacted them in advance to accept prisoners. On the deck, Yuta reported with an unhappy face. At first glance, he was angry. Aizen nodded and asked with a smile, are you looking for Buggy again? Yeah, that bastard played me up and said a bunch of bad things about Shanks. I beat him up and he's lying there now. Buggy's life has been really hard these days. Yuta approached him without revealing his identity and asked a bunch about Shanks. At first Buggy didn't admit it, saying he didn't know him at all. In the end, after being taught a lesson by Yuta, he admitted it heartlessly. However, he did not tell Yuta the truth, only that he and Shanks grew up in the same village. He's not stupid. If he said he was an intern on a ship with Shanks, wouldn't his identity as a crew member of One Piece be exposed? Yuta simply doesn't care about this kind of thing, she just wants to know more about Shanks. I don't know if it reminded Shanks of causing him to eat devil fruit, and the resentment of losing the treasure map. Still considering Yuta's identity, she thought she had an enmity with Shanks. In short, it was a crazy output, without saying a good word about Shanks. Another lesson from Yuta. Then I restrained a lot, changed my relationship with Shanks, and told half-truths and half-truths. It's just that when I say it, I have some personal emotions. This kind of behavior also caused him to be beaten up by Yuta every day in the past few days. That guy is timid and extremely wretched. I can't believe I'm going to be a partner with him. Obviously, Yuta doesn't like Buggy's performance. Aizen looked at the distant Impel down on the sea. He said meaningfully. Don't underestimate him, he is very special, he is one of the few people I look forward to. Impel down is terrible hell for other pirates, but for this particular guy, Buggy, it's a training course for ascension. From being arrested by Smoker, To Luffy storming Impel down, to Shichibukai 2 years later, 4 emperors. The way and speed of promotion is incredible. Is luck also a part of strength? Aizen thought silently in his heart. Along the way, he also thought about how to deal with this outlier. Income. Directly kill. In the end Aizen decided to let him go. After all, such an existence can always bring unexpected fun. He can be valued by you. Aizen's words made Yuta frown involuntarily, and seriously thought about the details of the communication with Buggy in the past few days. Based on her understanding of Aizen, she will never talk about it. For him to say that, there must be something extraordinary. What exactly is it? Soon Impel Down will be here. After lowering the drawbridge, Aizen personally escorted Crocodile off the ship. Impel Down Director Magellan and Deputy Director Hannibal are leading a group of jailers to wait. Deputy Warden Domino checked the pass in Aizen's hand, nodded to the two behind him, and then let him go. It's been a long time, Magellan. Aizen has been to Impel Down many times before, so he is familiar with the director. Magellan also greeted her with a smile. Aizen Vice Admiral, long time no see. He greeted everyone at a very long distance, in case the poisonous gas on his body accidentally poisoned them. Aizen waved his hand, and glanced at Crocodile beside him, and several cadres in the Baroque studio. Let's send them in first, it's important. Magellan nodded and made way for the passage behind him, please. Watching prisoners, including Marine soldiers, being checked at the entrance. Smoker turned unhappily and walked onto the warship. Hina looked at his back and thought for a while, then turned and followed him. Aren't you going in with him? I don't want to go into that kind of gloomy place, we just wait on the boat. I believe the senior will finish it soon. The handover of prisoners went smoothly, and the bounty prisoners were sent to their corresponding floors according to their bounty levels. There is only one crocodile left, and Magellan and Aizen need to personally send it to the eternal hell on the 6th floor. Just as they were taking the elevator to go down, there was a cuckoo, stomachache, and Magellan's face changed instantly. The deputy director, Hannibal, had a smirk on his face. It's really a waste director. He always loses the chain at critical moments. Otherwise, let me be the director. Shut up. Magellan glared at him fiercely, and said urgently to Aizen. Aizen Vice Admiral is sorry, it seems that you can only escort him down. I'll excuse you first. As he spoke, he rushed out just as the elevator doors were about to close. Aizen, who knew his situation, just smiled slightly, and said to Hannibal who was snickering over there, in this case, let's go first. His lips moved slightly, and he spit out a few words lightly. Hannibal and the guards in charge of the elevator suddenly turned serious. Obey, Aizen-sama. Chapter 19 Welcome to Zai Palace. Advertise here. As the elevator started, the sound of the chain turning sounded. In the dark and damp eternal hell, the legendary pirates also became restless. Magellan's loose guy again. Shiliu, the warden who was once Impel Down, looked towards the elevator. In the distance, a middle-aged pirate who looked like a ghost leaned on a corner of the cell. I don't know who will be caught this time, I hope it's not some unknown little character. The blind man next door with a severed hand sneered, is anyone who can be imprisoned here a minor character? It's really noisy, you little devils, please be quiet. The dead old man in the corner was woken up by them, roaring angrily. Immortal, are you tired of living? You should be lucky that you are not outside, otherwise Lousy will kill you all. Confusion. Even after being imprisoned for so many years, the chaotic nature of these villains still remains unchanged. All of them have hot tempers, if they were not held in this prison. Just based on the few words just now, I am afraid that a bloody storm will be set off. The quarrel was getting louder, but strangely, it suddenly fell silent when the sound of the elevator was about to approach. Just like the better. A few newcomers who had just been sent in seemed to have thought of something, and shivered in fear, but then they were excited. Is it finally that time? This time it's finally my turn. Deep in the prison, a rough voice echoed throughout the 6 underground floors. When the newcomer comes in later, you should give him a good welcome, so that he can feel our enthusiasm. There was a bit of cruelty in the voice, followed by a wild laugh. Then countless weird laughter sounded in the 6th floor, like a group of ghosts wailing. Let the eerie eternal hell live up to its name. Yes, Master Aizen. As the elevator began to descend, Crocodile's face was no longer calm. Who are you? Crocodile, who hadn't spoken a word all the way, finally spoke before being thrown in jail. As a former Shichibukai, he certainly knows that Impel Down is directly under the world government. As an independent agency, although I have more contact with Marine in terms of functions, the people here are not superior to Marine. And these people, including the so-called deputy director. It was only after Magellan left that the attitude changed. He looked at Aizen with serious eyes. Who is it? Aizen lowered his head slightly and repeated his question. The elegant aura on her body disappeared, replaced by sharpness and domineering. He looked up to give Crocodile a profile, and walked out first when the elevator reached the 6th floor. Yuta followed closely behind him. Maybe it's because the prison life on the 6th floor is too desperate, and it makes these rebellious and strong people unite to do one thing. Perhaps this is the only fun they have left. It's about to start. It's finally about to start. The newcomer who just came in not long ago was extremely excited at the moment. Because he was baptized by these predecessors, when he came in, he passed out on the spot. Now it's finally his turn to join in and give the newcomers some color. Crack. The moment the elevator stopped, the eager prisoners couldn't wait. Dozens of powerhouses with Conqueror's Haki, and many others. Conqueror's Haki, murderous aura, brutal and chaotic aura gathered together, ready to go. It's like a nuclear bomb is about to detonate. Everything is just as planned. Only, when that figure appeared, needles could be heard throughout the eternal hell on the 6th underground floor. Only the footsteps of Aizen echoed here. The big pirates who were clamoring to give the newcomers a little color before now seemed to have seen a ghost. All of them were holding back their strength to make a big move, but suddenly they misfired. Damn it, why is this monster here? I don't know how many unlucky ghosts there will be this time, I hope it won't be me. ... This is already the number of times Aizen has been here. Almost every prisoner held here has been tortured by Aizen. Either as an experimental subject, or to take away part of the body's flesh and soul. A strong man who couldn't die for a few years now has to die several times a year since he has Aizen. Even a strong man as proud as the Red Earl and as fierce as Bullet was not spared. In this case, don't talk about giving Aizen a baptism. It should be that they have to be careful, lest they attract attention and be targeted by Aizen. How are you all these days? ... Aizen's voice echoed in eternal hell, but there was silence. And when everyone was silent, a weak momentum from the corner came towards Aizen, and the newcomer actually shot him. Newcomers are often more energetic. For Aizen, this momentum is just a breeze. No trouble at all. He turned around with a chuckle, looked at Crocodile behind him, and offered a welcome invitation. Welcome to Zai Palace. Chapter 20 Correct Use of 5 Senses Hypnosis. Advertise here. Crocodile was thrown into a cell. Aizen met his gaze from behind the seastone fence. Mr. Crocodile, I believe we shall meet again before long. Then, under his almost weird expression, he turned and left here. The moment Aizen stepped out of eternal hell, the entire 6th floor seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. It's okay, it looks like he's in a good mood today. No one was arrested to do the experiment. Hey, boy, you really picked up a name. Avaro Pizarro, the villainous king, yelled at the newcomer before him. But he didn't expect that this voice would attract the glaring glances of countless people. The aura that those strong men had accumulated and failed to release was vented at this moment. The overwhelming momentum pressed towards the evil king. Although his strength is also very good, but how can it be against the deterrence of so many people? But in just a few breaths, he passed out. When his consciousness dissipated, he could still faintly hear a few words. Not far away, almost killed by him. ... Yuta, who was waiting at the entrance on the other side, saw that he came out so soon, and couldn't help asking curiously, why didn't you do your experiment inside this time? Aizen walked past her, and Yuta quickly followed. After getting on the elevator, he said, Hogyoku has become complete, and all that is left is accumulation, and those materials are no longer needed. And, a big show always needs enough actors and audiences. As he spoke, there was a hint of vague and inexplicable expectation on his face. Yuta, who was standing beside him, couldn't help shivering. I really don't know whether to say they are lucky or unlucky. Now they probably thought they had escaped, but they didn't expect you to count them as dead. Yuta, I think you have misunderstood. Aizen pushed his glasses and said softly, I just let what was supposed to happen go in the original direction. Yuta has heard similar answers many times. Seeing what he said, he didn't ask any more questions, but changed the subject. Are you going to use this place as your base in the future? Isn't this too crude? It is not difficult to see from her expression how much she dislikes this place. Her dream is to be a musician who brings happiness to the world, not to hold a party for these damned pirates in prison. Sensing her displeasure, Aizen didn't say much. When the elevator came to the 5th floor of freezing hell, he stretched out his hand towards the glacier on the side. The 26th of Bakudo bent light. Solution. With the use of Aizen Bakudo, a layer of blue Reiatsu appeared on the otherwise hard ice. Beneath it, pale, smooth walls were revealed. Just a small change, like a famous painting hidden in the fake interlayer. The true face revealed when a corner of the surface fake is torn off. This is the real Void Night Palace. Yuta looked at Aizen in surprise, which she never knew. When did you do it? Obviously, they come with him every time. Still can only see the tip of his iceberg clearly. What a man who the more he understands, the more frightening he is. ... I really don't know how you did it. Can hypnosis with pure 5 senses really achieve this level? Yuta knew of Aizen's grip on Impel down, almost to the point of terror. Horrible to the extent that Commissioner Magellan is nothing more than a hollowed-out skeleton. Almost 70% of the people in the entire Impel down are under the control of Aizen, whether they are prisoners or jailers. Even the deputy director, she turned her head to look at the respectful Hanyable over there. What a terrifying ability. Can the 5 senses hypnosis do this? She couldn't imagine that hypnosis with just 5 senses could reach this level. This is basically all-round manipulation from awareness of body and mind. It cannot be explained by simple hypnosis at all. Sure. While walking, Aizen gave Yuta an affirmative answer. What kind of hypnosis do you think the five senses hypnosis should be? Facing Aizen's question, Yuta put his index finger on his lips, frowning and thinking. After thinking for a while, he said, probably let the people being manipulated see and hear what I want them to know. Create a false environment to deceive them. After she finished speaking, she nodded affirmatively, as if she was satisfied with her answer. It's just that when she thought it was good, what she got was a chuckle from Aizen. She could clearly feel Aizen's perfunctory. Just like when Shanks and the others heard Luffy say something childish, it was the kind of perfunctory adults' superficial views on children. Manipulating the five senses is not that simple. Human cognition and actions are transmitted to the nerves after the body receives information from the outside world, and then the nerves give feedback to the body. When you run at full speed, there is obviously nothing in front of you, but every cell in your body tells you that you have hit a boulder. The pain was transmitted to the brain, the hearing became weaker, and the smell of blood filled the nasal cavity. The brain tells you that you are dead. Quote. Before they knew it, they had reached the door of the director's office on the 4th floor. Aizen stopped suddenly and turned to look at her. Seriously said, by then, do you think you're going to die? Chapter 21 Magellan. Aizen Vice Admiral Good Man. Advertise here. Aizen and Magellan parade Impel down. People on every floor felt fear. After finishing, Magellan looked at Aizen gratefully, and called Sengoku and 5 elders to report respectively. In the use of Kyoka Suigetsu, Aizen is fundamentally different from the world of Shinigami. Aizen in the Shinigami world chose to abandon Kyoka Suigetsu after getting Hogyoku, and Zanpakuto shattered in the process of evolution. And Zanpakuto, as the manifestation of Shinigami's spiritual power, is possessed at the beginning of each soul's birth. Neither party has the right to choose and be chosen. In other words, it is not an exaggeration to say that Zanpakuto is part of the Shinigami soul. And that Aizen's behavior of abandoning Kyoka Suigetsu was almost the root cause of his rejection by Hogyoku later. Since someone has walked the wrong path, there is no need to try it. At least in this world, Aizen will not do such a self-defeating thing. Knock on the door of Magellan's office, and upon entering, Magellan is sitting there panting. It looked as if it had just experienced a war. Sorry, I'm so rude. This time, I'll be counting on Vice Admiral. It is not the first time Aizen has seen Magellan's enthusiasm and courtesy. But even so, he still said with a gentle smile, you are too polite. Yuta looked at the scene where the two were talking back and forth, and curled her lips in disgust. Can't you just say something? It's obviously a relationship of mutual use, but I still insist on making such a scene. I have to watch this kind of picture every time I come to Impel down. Aizen Vice Admiral, shall we begin then? It is good. The two walked side by side in front, and Yuta reluctantly followed behind. Several people took the elevator from the basement floor to the 5th floor one by one. The pirates encountered along the way, whether it is the trash fish in Crimson Hell, or the billion-dollar bounty criminal in Freezing Hell. When seeing Aizen, everyone's face changed drastically. Especially those miscellaneous fishes on the upper level, when they saw him, they behaved like docile cats. His mouth was screaming that he wanted to change his past mistakes and make atonement for his mistakes. Even the bounty criminals who offered high rewards at the lower level saw him as if they had seen a scourge. Although he didn't want to be as spineless as the upper class, but no one dared to make mistakes. Walking down this circle, the restless guy in Impel down was stupefied. Who is this guy? He looks so attractive, and everyone stopped talking when he came. Another newcomer who just arrived, he asked the seniors in the next cell strangely. When I poked my head out, I saw those seniors were pale and trembling slightly. Hearing his question was also trembling for a long time without a response. After a long time, someone tremblingly said, don't be fooled by his gentle appearance, he is a monster through and through. I've seen him put his hand in a person's chest, and the person becomes a monster with a hollow chest. Quote. What about the monster? The monster is hidden in this Impel down. After visiting the 5th floor, Magellan decided to go to the 6th floor to be on the safe side. Aizen Vice Admiral, please follow me to the 6th floor. After saying this, it seemed that he was afraid that Aizen might misunderstand. He quickly waved his hand and said, it's not that I don't trust Vice Admiral, it's just my responsibility as the director. I hope you can understand. This is the director's self-blame, and I certainly don't mind. Then they went to the 6th floor again. This time Aizen didn't go in again, but just waited at the door for Magellan to come out after the inspection. Trash, are you all dead? Magellan walked into the eternal hell, surprised at how quiet it was. Seeing that it was Magellan, the strong men also breathed a sigh of relief, and began to curse angrily. Magellan, where did you bastard just die? You are the director, you actually let someone else come here alone, do you still want to do it? Don't you have loose stools? Do your duties as director, you bastard. They were wise not to sue to expose Aizen. It's not that he doesn't want to, but it's useless, Magellan doesn't believe their words at all. On one side is a vicious pirate, talking like farting with a foul mouth. On one side is the disciple of Marshal Sengoku, known as the Confucian General, after his teacher the resourceful general. Who do you think he believes? Later, the guy who complained disappeared inexplicably, and no one raised this issue again. Magellan had forgotten about those things until now. He looked at the group of bastards suspiciously. Has Aizen Vice Admiral's reputation reached this level? He knew that Aizen had an excellent reputation in the outside world, and he even persuaded many pirates who had no choice but to go to sea before they had time to do evil. It's just that he didn't expect it to be so good. No wonder the quality of the prisoners throughout Impel Down has improved every time he comes. Even the old guy who has been imprisoned for decades will be influenced by it, and now he starts to care about the work of his director. It's just that the attitude of talking is too bad. It seems that the transformation is not enough. In the future, we should invite Aizen Vice Admiral to walk around more. Chapter 22 Discussion. Advertise here. Oh, it's finally out. It's been a long time since I got in. Outside Impel Down, Smoker, who was already impatient, watched Aizen come out. Magellan, who was beside him, saw him off with a smile on his face, always showing some reluctance. As the distance approached, their conversation became clearer. Aizen Vice Admiral, you must come here often when you have the opportunity. The prisoners here need to listen to your teachings. Since you have been here, the quality of the prisoners in our Impel Down has been improved. Everything is for justice, Aizen said with a chuckle. His words also made Magellan very agreeable, and once introduced him as a confidant. Thinking that he has stayed in this Impel Down for decades, although he is the director, what is the difference between him and a prisoner? The same is trapped in this small prison, not seeing the vastness of the outside world. The purpose is to suppress those villains and realize the justice in my heart. Who said that only Marines who catch pirates and criminals have justice? There are also these unknown jailers. Under Yuta's strange gaze, the two parted ways. The first time Aizen got on the warship, he saw Hina, who had been waiting for a long time, and saw her look over with admiration. As expected of a senior, even a vicious pirate will repent for your teachings. Smoker next to him didn't speak, but judging from his complicated expression, he was also shocked. Instinctively, he wanted to question it. It's just that the words come to my lips but I don't know how to say them. In fact, Smoker doesn't hate Aizen, it's just because the experience of being taught a lesson made him feel uncomfortable. Choking with Aizen is also knowingly useless, but will do it anyway. Typical unconvinced. Therefore, Hina often ridiculed him, saying that he is quite arrogant in his old age. Aizen smiled at the two of them, didn't say any more, just ordered the warship to prepare to leave. Magellan stood at the entrance on the ground and watched them leave. It wasn't until the two warships were out of view that he turned back inside Impel Down, and the first thing he did after returning to his office was to call Sengoku at Naval Headquarters. After the call was connected, he praised Aizen without hesitation. Hearing that, Sengoku's face was crooked. There is no way, the student is promising, and the teacher's face is also bright. Ha ha ha, is it? Magellan, don't be too polite, Aizen still has a lot of room for improvement. Hanging up the phone, Sengoku smiled even wider. The other people in the office were speechless for a while. Kizaru, who was sitting on the sofa next to him, trimmed his nails and tilted his mouth. Marshal Sengoku was very happy. Is there any good news? The others were silent, looking at Sengoku with a strange expression. His old friend, he covered his forehead in trouble, looking as if he couldn't see. All of you here are experts. Did they hear what Magellan said on the other end of the phone? It's just too lazy to answer. Sengoku speaks so loudly when answering the phone. Isn't the clumsy acting skills just to show off the excellence of the disciples? None of them bothered to poke him. Ahem. Satisfying that little selfishness, Sengoku cleared his throat. Seriously said. You should have heard about the Shichibukai meeting last time. Recently, I received new news that the Blackbeard teach who self-recommended was also a member of the Whitebeard pirates. He fled to the independent Blackbeard pirates at sea. It is said that Whitebeard and his pirates are father and son, and the relationship between the crew is far from that of other pirate groups. Now it seems that it is nothing more than that. Akainu snorted coldly and said disdainfully. As a representative of the Hawks in Marine, his view of pirates has always been that he would rather kill the wrong than let them go, no matter how famous the pirate is. Thieves are thieves, and they are all existences that disrupt the world order. They should all be wiped out. Now that he heard that the Whitebeard pirates, who had always flaunted the brotherhood of father and son, had encountered such a thing, he confirmed his thoughts even more. A thief is a thief, so there is no morality at all. Everyone knew his character well, so they were not surprised by what he said. The chief of staff, Ms. He, thought for a moment and expressed her point of view. I don't care about the Whitebeard pirates for the time being, but according to the information given by the spies on the CP side, Sage is indeed dead. This is also the first case of the Whitebeard pirates since its establishment. With Whitebeard's character, I am afraid that something will be done. Quote. Didn't Smoker mention it in Alabasta's report? Ace, the captain of the second team, appeared there. Kizaru continued fiddling with his nails without looking up. After his voice fell, the office fell into a brief silence. The Whitebeard pirates are powerful, and Captain Whitebeard, as one of the New World 4 emperors, is known as the strongest man in the world. Every move can set off waves in this sea, so they can't help but pay attention to it. Sengoku pushed his glasses. Blackbeard teach can kill Sage, which shows that he still has some strength. Now he intends to become Shichibukai and get closer to the world government. If it is really successful, it may trigger a head-on conflict between Marine and the Whitebeard pirates, and the gain outweighs the loss. Quote. Ace can get that kind of treatment because of his special status, he is not qualified to teach. While Sengoku was thinking, the crane on the side said, "Isn't that Ace in the first half? There is a high probability that it is chasing Teach. It just so happens that Kuzan has not returned from his mission in the first half, so let him run again." Well, that's all I have to do. Chapter 23 Conqueror's Haki. Reiatsu. Advertise here. When two warships sailed out of the Gate of Justice. Aizen looked at Smoker and Hina at the side. Let's part here. For a moment, Hina thought she didn't hear clearly, and looked at Smoker next to her. But when he saw that he also looked similar to himself, he knew that he had heard it wrong. Senior, aren't you going back to the headquarters? Aizen nodded, and stroked Zanpakuto on his waist with one hand. Actually, this matter has been delayed for a while, and now that the task is over, there is no longer any delay. A dangerous breath emanated from him, which seemed murderous but also gave people a sense of compassion. Several people felt his determination at this moment. Especially Hina, as a qualified supporter, of course she knew that it was just the performance of the seniors when they were angry. What puzzled her was that something special happened along the way. Why is the always gentle and polite senior so angry? Senior, you. Before he could finish, Aizen raised his hand and interrupted her. Don't worry, I just think it's time to harvest the crops. Harvest crops. Hina frowned, unable to understand what the senior meant. On the other hand, Smoker next to him thought for a moment and then nodded. Is that so? Vice Admiral, do you need help? I've wanted to go too. Hina looked at Smoker like a ghost. When did this reckless man use his brain so well? He actually understood. Hina is not happy. What the hell are you playing? Smoker exhaled a puff of green smoke. Before setting off for Impel down, I noticed that he was always standing on the deck looking in the same direction. His eyes were often cold and stern. At first I thought he was aware of the danger, but after a few days until I passed the Gate of Justice and nothing happened, I didn't remember that it was the direction of Gaia Island. Quote. Gaia Island. Hina recalled that there was indeed such an island on the previous route. I heard that there is a magic valley town on the island, which is a famous gathering place for pirates. The headquarters had wanted to carry out encirclement and suppression operations many times, but later considered that if they could not be wiped out in one fell swoop, a large number of fleeing pirates would pose a threat to people everywhere. I can only give up because of this. The pirates who can't be killed always have to give them some reserved space, otherwise they will only cause more trouble when they wander around. Senior, is it okay for you to go alone? If not, you should make a report to the headquarters and bring more people with you. Of course Hina was not worried about his safety, but felt that it would be difficult for him and the people under his deployment to catch them all. If that's the case, even if the senior is a student of Marshal Sengoku, he may be to blame. Hearing her words, Aizen smiled lightly. Hina, don't underestimate Vice Admiral's strength. Hina was momentarily at a loss for words. Seeing what she wanted to say, Aizen closed his eyes helplessly. It opened suddenly with a sigh. A wave of soaring haki swept across like a tsunami. He pressed straight towards the two of them. Smoker swayed, and fell to the ground with a plop, supporting his upper body on his elbows to prevent himself from getting down completely. Colonel Smoker, Tashigi exclaimed. Sweat dripped from Smoker's face on the ground at the moment, and he looked at Hina who had fainted aside. Looking up at the figure in front of him with difficulty, he squeezed out between his teeth. Conqueror's Haki. I see. No wonder he has the confidence to go alone to destroy Demon Valley Town. Seeing that the goal has been achieved, Aizen's aura is also withdrawn. Smoker suddenly felt relieved, and the pressure on his body disappeared. He sat on the ground panting heavily, the cigar in his mouth dropped and he didn't care. Vice Admiral, you hide really deep. Hee, the tricks are not worth mentioning. Aizen said with a slight smile on his face. If that's the case, I won't stop you, I'll take Hina back. Relighting the cigar, Smoker grabbed the loose hair. After speaking, he picked up Hina, greeted the startled Tashigi and returned to his warship. The couple parted ways about 200 nautical miles from Marineford. After they left, Yuta jumped up excitedly. And now I can meet Luffy. She also misses her childhood playmate very much, after all, she always regarded herself as Luffy's sister at that time. Although Luffy won't admit it. Of course, I'm pretty bullish on Straw Hat Luffy. As if sensing Yuta's vigilant gaze, Aizen smiled helplessly. Don't worry, I'm optimistic about him in the future, and I'm not interested in him right now. I met him this time just incidentally, it just happened that he was at that place. In fact, Smoker was wrong before. What he was looking at was not the direction of Magic Valley Town, but the Sky Island above. It's a wonderful place. An island in the sky. It just couldn't fit anymore. Chapter 24 Yuta's Shikai. Advertise here. Just a few days earlier, Aizen had heard from Lafitte. The Blackbeard pirates lost Straw Hat crew in the waters off Gaia Island, and he tried to convince Teach to take another target. But Teach seemed to have identified Luffy, and decided to continue chasing on that line, vowing to catch Luffy in the straw hat. In order not to be exposed, he can only hold back the footsteps of Blackbeard and his group as much as possible, hoping that Ace can catch up ahead of time. Aizen-sama, I'm really sorry, I couldn't handle this matter well, and I failed your trust. Don't mind Lafitte, you have done a good job. I will arrange for Ace, you just need to wait quietly. In the first half of the Grand Line, Aizen ended his connection with Lafitte. Then he turned his gaze to a food stall on the street not far away. The owner of the stall was grilling the meat with all his might, and his hands were so fast that afterimages appeared. The reason is the big customer standing in front of the booth. Wearing a cowboy hat, topless, plus the unique tattoo on his back. Is he Ace, Luffy's sworn big brother? Yuta first looked him up and down, with a lot of scrutiny in his eyes. She has always regarded herself as Luffy's sister, and she has known Luffy before. Now it is inexplicably discovered that Luffy has an extra big brother, and it is inevitable that I feel a little upset. But when she saw the way Ace was eating barbecue, she was stunned for a moment. Little Luffy's big brother, she can't deny it. It's exactly the same, right? It's the same even if you can stand up and fall asleep halfway through eating. Come on, tell him about Blackbeard, and we'll have to go on. After parting with Smoker and others, Aizen directly activated the effect of Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis to kill all the people on the warship. He took Yuta and left together, and Shunko performed seamlessly all the way, but arrived here in a few hours. Also happened to meet Ace. They didn't hide on purpose, they walked towards Ace in a grand manner. Beside the barbecue stall, Ace, who fell asleep halfway through eating, suddenly woke up and noticed the approach of the two. When first saw the marine cloaks on the two of them, I thought they were here to find fault. Marine, what can I do for you? He said so, but the movement of his hands did not stop, and a group of blazing flames gathered in his palm. The newcomers on the side of the road fled away one after another. The owner of the barbecue stall didn't even want the guy who was eating, so he moved away as quickly as possible. We're not here to fight, don't you want to know where Blackbeard is? Blackbeard. The moment Ace heard the name, he showed an angry expression, and the flame in his hand became more and more vigorous. Even standing 10 meters away, you can feel the heat waves coming. Tell me where that bastard is. Or don't blame me for being rude. He assumed a fighting posture, as if he was about to attack at any time. Seeing this, Aizen shook his head with some nerve-wracking, not wanting that this scene would fall into Ace's eyes, but be regarded as a rejection. In this case, let's fight first. Shooting casually in such a busy city, pirates are still pirates. Yuta, who had a good impression of him at first, suddenly turned cold. Withdrawing Zanpakuto from his waist, he stepped forward and passed Aizen in front of him. Before that, let me teach him a lesson. Before Aizen could agree, Ace's attack had arrived. The collision of the flame and the slash was fleeting, and Yuta came to Ace with a shunko, the blade reaching to the neck. Ace was careless and couldn't dodge in time, and a gash was drawn on his cheek. It was this slight pain that stimulated Ace to calm down, and then looked at Yuta solemnly. Can hurt me in an elemental situation, this is not the strength that a Marine Major should have. It seems that Marine is not as bad as I thought. Oh, the captain of the second team of the dignified Whitebeard pirates was actually defeated by a little Marine Major like me. It seems that the Whitebeard pirates are not as powerful as I thought. Yuta said with a cold face, without showing any weakness. Her words also successfully angered Ace. In Ace's mind, the status of Whitebeard's father is still higher than that of his biological father Luogia, and the brothers and sisters in the pirate group are also brothers and sisters. It is the existence in his heart that does not allow anyone to slander him. Take back what you just said. Ace paused every word, and said through gritted teeth. Flames burned all over his body, and the scorching heat made the bricks and stones under his feet show signs of melting. The stalls and products left by the vendors on the street also burned under the high temperature. Some bold guys hid in the distance and watched secretly, only to feel that their vision was blurred for a while, and the air became distorted. The brick wall lying on his stomach was also scorching hot. How dare they look at such a terrifying scene? It was such a terrifying scene, but Yuta, who was closest to it, was unmoved. Zanpakuto threw out a sword flower in front of his chest, and held it flat in front of him. The momentum on his body suddenly rose, and a powerful Reiatsu burst out. Sing it, Diva. Chapter 25 Sing, Diva. Advertise here. Sing it, Diva. When the Shikai began to chant, Yuta erupted into a crimson Reiatsu that enveloped her whole body. The terrifying power emitted is even better than the previous scorching heat. The influence of Reiatsu spread to the entire street, as if the ground trembled slightly under his feet. Conqueror's Haki. No, that's not right. Is it the fruit ability? Ace's expression was unprecedentedly dignified at this moment. He did not expect that a small major in Marine could burst out with such an aura. Unexpectedly, he faintly changed him, and for a moment, his competitive heart arose, and he released his strength not to be outdone. The flames under the feet gradually spread, like a sea of fire. When the crimson Reiatsu covering Yuta's body stopped restless, her figure appeared there with a brand new image. Wearing a crown on his head and holding a red gold lance. The limbs are also wrapped in exaggerated golden armor, which looks like a Valkyrie. Noble yet sassy. This is also the second time Aizen has seen Yuta Zanpakuto liberated, and at the same time can't help but think back to when she first mastered Shikai. At that time, she learned how to speak by herself, but her voice was slightly playful. Can't hide the desire to share. Don't be fooled by what you see, my Zanpakuto. It's from the Kido family. The Shikai of Diva is not over yet. The Reiatsu particles scattered around Yuta regrouped behind her, and a tall human figure gradually emerged. Judging from its figure, it looked like a woman. Soon, her figure was revealed, her blonde hair and white clothes closed her eyes tightly. The whole body exudes holy light. Ace looked at that figure, and his originally high fighting spirit stagnated, as if he had fallen into obsession. Muttering in his mouth, "Mom." The voice was extremely thin, but it still didn't escape Yuta's ears. Huh, she looked at Ace inexplicably, and then showed a disgusted expression. Little Luffy's sworn brother still has this hobby. Pirates really every good thing. This time, for the sake of little Luffy, he can be let off, but the death penalty is inevitable. When Yuta was about to launch an attack, the singer behind her folded her hands slightly on her chest, and a soft and gentle singing sound came from her mouth. Ha! Woo woo woo. A layer of enchantment centered on her then opened, enveloping the three people including Aizen. But it seems that the surrounding buildings are not included in it. They seemed to appear suddenly, in a huge amphitheater. There were countless spectators who couldn't see their faces clearly in the surrounding stands. The deafening shouts came from above, and the constant impact brought Ace back to his senses. Is this an illusion here? Ace seemed to suddenly remember, staring at the unique Aizen in the stands. Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Aizen Sōsuke, a disciple of Marshal Sengoku, a person with illusion fruit ability. Is this your fruit ability? His words not only made Aizen feel sorry for him, but also made Yuta's face darken standing in front of him. It was a one-on-one fight that was supposed to be above board, but it was suspected that someone else had intervened. This is simply a humiliation to the opponent. Before she could speak, Aizen's voice came from the edge of the stands. He chuckled softly. Mr. Potter Cass, I'm sorry for causing you such a misunderstanding, but, just based on your words, it's not worth my shot. The arrogant and domineering attitude and the gentleness on his face, two diametrically opposed temperaments, can only appear in one person at the same time. Ace felt an indescribable strange pressure. Weird, too weird. Just when Ace was on guard, Yuta's voice sounded. Holding a lance in her hand, she approached Ace step by step, while Diva followed her in a levitation like a ghost. This is the Anthem Theater, which is one of the effects of my ability. You can fight here with all your strength without any scruples, without worrying about causing too much damage to the outside. If you try your best to cause trouble to the residents in that small town, what is the difference from you lawless pirates? We're Marines after all. Her face was indifferent and gloomy, as if she had thought of something bad. Marine. Huh. Ace was furious when he heard this. Yuta can accuse him of pirate chaos, and he can naturally accuse Marine of decaying and being a dog for celestial dragons. Of course, it makes sense to say that you are in a different position. He is not a person who uses his tongue, everything is still determined by the most fundamental laws of the world. The strong are justified. Fire punch. With a punch, a huge flame came oncoming. Yuta retracted his lance, and stretched out the vacant left and right. Seeing the flames approaching, she did not rush. It was just a series of chants from the Diva behind her. 81 of Bakudo splitting void.